내가 망할 거랬던 놈들에게도 내가 잘 될 거라 했던 너에게도 다 할게 최선 갈아 껴다 새고 My life is shining like a VVS VVS 내 삶은 빛나 VVS VVS 오란다 나와 TV에 Now see me baby 내 삶은 빛나 VVS VVS
Hey new one new VV 난 날 받채고 무대 위 Yeah 고기리 가사이가 난 이미 나지 안 감아 리필 살아봐야겠어 everything Yeah 개 같던 세상에 뒤통수 치러 왔지 더 크게 거리면 내 먼저 날 보고 놀래 미란이가 TV에 떼버렸대 사세롭게 타고 비행 난 올라가 난 빛이 나 내가 뭐라 했어 맘 꺼내겠다고 보자 맨 밑바닥에 서려 말술병이 날 만들어 허기저기를 꽉 물어지 제발 믿어 벽쟁이 너 비벼서만 내 꿈 앞에 녹스팔찌 버려 문 앞에 DJ 벨트하지 거리에 원망하던 과거와 춤출래
미고 카니발 목숨은 다 꺼내놓고 자판기 미먼지 덕지 붙은 동전까지 털털 여기까지 watch what you know about me 내 속약이 털어놓은 지갑 털어차린 술상 We know 폰만 바라봤잖아 이제 그 스크린에서 날 바라먹 먹고서 플라머가 나갈 거 빈도지 악플들이 둥그랗게 쏟아지니 got a nice ring to it 고우면 네 요반지 아저씨인지한테 일러 바치고 한 판 더 뜨자해 bitch 나는 솔로라니까 뭘 그렇게 재니 다 두루 안에 패기 170에 60킬로도 안 되지만 국보이로 MC도 큐 소리 farm new king in the rap 내가 TV에 지금 나왔다고 연예인 된 줄 알았다는 이미 넌 패 Bigger sex bigger schemes do bigger thing Jesus Like this team I'm blessed 모든 게 끝나고 홍대로 돌아가도 모든 건 변함없겠지 like this 보여줘야겠어 내가 망할 거랬던 놈들에게도 내가 잘 될 거라 했던 너에게도 다 할게 최선 갈아 껴다 새고 My life is shining like a VVS VVS 내 삶은 빛나 VVS VVS 오란다 나와 TV에 Now see me baby 내 삶은 빛나 VVS VVS
멈추면 복근에 장식된 BBS 내 행동 위험에 걸리지 심의에 자체 발광 계속해 실시해 날 보고 배워 요 EBS 흔들릴 바엔 다 흔들어 흘려온 땀이 내 커리어 명품이 없어도 고개를 쳐들어 Keep my head up keep your head up yo 걱정도 했었지 day and night 싸워서 만드는 내일의 나 NBA 11명 내일이 party 나 역시나 함께일 때가 빛나 I'm a good fight 제비처럼 춤춰 good fight 내 사랑은 잘가 웃자 형은 미련한 키워 오케이 이제 난 노래나 불러
원래 어제 해가지고 일단은 일단
이제 빛나는 주변에서 어쩜 너 강원해서 그들이 말대로 모두 특별하니까 남의 특별히 몸에 특별해도 무급하도 바뀌었지만 내 작업실 앞거리 짧던 이 사정거리 가사가 다 퍼진 광유 시도계가 부럽다는 팔로잉 나이씨 빛을 번쩍 빛나 벌써 이번처럼 시간 없어 바쁜 삶 일단 먼저 필수적으로 너의 던지고는 한순간 잡았다면 빨리 빛나 걷어왜 펄목거리 보자
와,
실에 봐도 넌 못 볼 거리 좀 봐줘 내 소문은 폈지만 그거 싫으면 또 저기야 처리야 없이 나 머리만 멈추마 시간으로 다지면 나
그만자래요.
돌아가시 야가를 벗어 날 부족하려면 너 보여봐라 지금 내가 네가 보여준 것 내가 망할 거랬던 놈들에게도 내가 잘 될 거라 했던 너에게도 다 할게 최선 갈아 껴다 새고 My life is shining like a VVS VVS 내 삶은 빛나 VVS VVS 오란다 나와 TV에 Now see me baby 내 삶은 빛나 VVS VVS
역시 성공을 고난의 동반 말없이 등산을 등반하는 것처럼 아가른 무 하늘에 계신 할매 보고 있습니까 조금 늦었습니다 저 팬들의 물리치느라 이게 내 거라 내일이 없는 듯이 아버지 권투선수 인생 한 방이 니가 필요하다 한 방이 알겠습니다 동네의 유치원 선수 나의 어머니 론달로우지 장애물 따윈 없는 듯이 달려라 대면 육아로 무 Let's go let's go 멜로디 없던 내 인생 아침에 다시 걷기요 술 팔아 쪽 팔아버렸던 너 하루 사는 하루살이의 콧노래 우를 눌러 우나 말씀 새 나라의 어린이 아니 뭐 그런 말씀을 또 Let's go 요거 좀 봐라 라고 하는 선생 그거 좀 봐라 이 멋 좀 봐라 야 걱정하지 마 멋이 배로 머리 베개서 이천으로 넌 떠나서 울투 경기 이천으로 넌 찍어라 브이로그 옛날 터시 쇼 burning like a
아니
VVS.
이렇게 많은 거 빨리 끝났다고?
왔노라 봤노라 결국 이겨냈노라.
상대가 더 빨리 뽑겠네요. I love 불닭도. 어려운데 지금 일단은 S를 같이 구해가지고 일단 맞아요. 나머지 한 번째 오버풀 안 된다는 거 아니지? 나이 좀 좋다. 아, 이 노래구나. 아, 이거 진짜 오랜만인데? 이 노래 초등학교 때 많이 들었어. 진짜 오랜만이야. 네, 그쵸? 그거예요. 아이디라는 CL 많이 하고 있는데 CL 그냥 문제 CL 안 하고 도박이라 있어. 뭐 안 터지면은 500이거든요. 안 터졌네. 이의 경우 거의 없고 거의 힐 안 터지면은 그건데 몇인데? 남자들 상대도 뭐 할 수 있는 게 없어요 일단은. 그래서 일단은 얘기를 일단 뺐죠. 왜? 그쵸? 내 속이다. 사이코시드야? 신기하네.
I'm back again. 다시 또 불씨가 번져 flame. TV쇼 안에서마저도 살아 숨쉬는 내 영혼 꺾어버리지 의심을 한 번 더. 내 태도 여전히 아운 기분. 난 이거도 절대 못 수구려. 난 이제 못 팔아 싸구려. 커피 다르게 돈다고 내 시계 초침. 살아서 남는 게 여전히 철칙. 다시 또 박피 맞아 난 착시. 난 넘어 상식. 느끼는 느낌 정글의 법칙 아주 날 넓긴. 다시 또 경쟁과 춤을 춰. 높은 내 상태는 싸우고 실패를 저우죠. 침착하지만 정확한 내 저우준. 침착하지만 정확한 내 저우준. 침착하지만 정확한 내 저우준. Yeah, red Diablo. My tongue like a pistol. We go up, do them in paso. Yeah, red Diablo. My tongue like a pistol. We go up 도레미파소 안겨난 정치질 I do not hang with you 한국에 도대체 힙합이 어딨니 거축 귀여운 래퍼 yeah rap Diablo My tongue like a pistol We go up 도레미파소 매번 난 핑계를 제치지 성공으로 새치기 초록색을 태운 뒤에 레라 몸가스 불린 후에 여전하게 with my team 모습에를 시선 줄의 NBA 수지 타산에만 목매는 씹새끼들 절대로 모를 수 있는 느낌 이재능은 어머니가 주셨지만 악마로 같은 돌을 닿는 줄을 촉축돼 빨간 보름 다 아래게 늑대 내가 고파 또 차려내 부패 이게 내 러브송 여름의 축제 단곡 까마도 투칭 vs 모든 래퍼들의 평생 논팽 너네 또 결국은 실업자 신세 이제 난 실세 없어 난 쉴새 Diablo flow yeah better than feedback 비참한 눈을 만들어 펌포 비싼 옷은 늘 좋아 더 멋진 걸로 안정제로도 못 눌러 내 각성 찾아봐 내 약점 잊어버린 감정 지옥에서 다짐했던 결심 그곳에 다 가진 너의 정신 묶어놓고 잘라버려 전신 애새끼들 가르치지 경 Diablo, my tongue like a pistol. We go up, 도레미파소. Yeah, rap Diablo, my tongue like a pistol. We go up, 도레미파소. 안겨난 정치질. I do not hang with you. 한국에 도대체 힙합이 어딨니? 거축 귀여운 래퍼, yeah, rap Diablo, my tongue like a pistol. We go up, 도레미파소.
랩 디아블로 맞춰는 트라플로에 신 피스 맞고 어디든 장소 나는 배고픈 말로 보지 적들의 말로 그게 나 이게 왕으로 남자의 조건 챙기기가 정말로 브랜도 주사 바늘 안고 밤하루 멸치로 살아도 머리 안 좋아려 이 태도에 사는 놈들이 반해나 봤들 I'm the rap messiah 다시 든사 타니 된다네 출신 아빠로 내가 fucking 파이오니어 인정 못한다면 너만 좀 봐라 샤라 투가리온 괜히 비리 비치 말했어 이미 힘이 남은 건 35전 이미 니니 지오류 피해 의식끼리끼리 돌아나는 선보이니 박수 박수 기립끼리
비싸만한 누드랩을 만들어 펌포 비싼 옷은 늘 좋아 더 멋진 걸로 안정제로도 못 눌러 내 각성 찾아봐 내 약점 잊어버린 감정
남자의 조건 챙기기가 정말로 브랜도 주사 바늘 안고 밤하루 멸치로 살아도 머리 안 좋아려 이 태도에 사는 놈들이 반해나 봤더람도
Rap Diablo My tongue like a dirty dog Yeah, rap Diablo My tongue like a pistol We go up 도레미파소 Yeah, rap Diablo My tongue like a pistol
이걸 써냈다.
We go up 도레미파소 안겨난 정치질 I do not hang with you 한국에 도대체 힙합이 어딨니 거축 귀여운 래퍼 yeah rap Diablo My tongue like a pistol We go up 도레미파소
테라 마땅하게 할 게 없어요 사실 지금 시점에서는. 이라 맞아요. 그나마 날개치는 분이가 치유파동을 예상 못했다. 치유파동 어떻게 사기인데 치유파동 지키면 못하지 않나? 쓴 사람이 많이 없었답니다. 와 잠깐만. 근데 리저너 1라운드 저스트 제임스 버스인데 이거 토론토 리저너 1라운드에 저스트 탐때 제임스 버스 개미쳤어.
Why you had to hide away for so long? Where did we go wrong? Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long.
와, 내부 실화냐? 에바잖아.
Hey, you with the pretty face. Welcome to the human race. A celebration. Mr. Blue Sky's up there waiting. And so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. But soon comes Mr. Night, creeping over, hands on your shoulder. Never mind, I remember you this way. Mr. Blue Skies, tell us why you had to hide away for so long.
일단 다 있어.
Hey there, Mr. Blue Skies, so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you.
기후 번호도 살짝 틀리긴 했는데 다행이에요. 술을 이 정도 사는데도 내가 오래 하고 많이 한 만큼 이 정도씩 기본적으로 많이 준다라고 생각해야지. 일단 이 정도 많이 똑같진 않아. 와 잠깐만. 일단 구성이 쉽지가 않은 구성인데 이걸 보여야 돼요. 아마 제 생각에는 저게 우라우스가 랜드로스가 스카프일 거고요. 그리고 에너지 날개치는 머리, 그리고 저게 뭐지? 아마 물방울일 거예요. 그러면은요 어떻게 되냐면 이것도 선출 싸움이긴 한데 이렇게 가죠.
확장기 괴를 내가 winner I'm 멈춰 끝까지 찔러 I'm a sleeper I'm a sleeper 난 멈춰서 거쳐야 해 Zone it, zone it, zone it, zone it, zone it, zone it. Ten toes down
의외로 랜드로스가 스카프도 아니에요. 이러면 우라우스가
나오는 답 그래도 feel it 그래서 좀 나와 여기 너희가 깍치고 있어 고지 않니 Ten toes down 그래 이제야 쟤네는 나를 인정하니 멈춰 있었어 여러 가지 이유 때문에 내가 바보 같았다고 원해 이게 대체 뭐냐 주둥이 좀 탐으로 버린 걸 주워 다시 팝인 다 퍼버리고 손을 펑치게 만들지 버벅대지 마라 내 앞에서 나서 프게 하지 마라 바보 같은 이게 제가 추월하지 어려울 거 하나 없어 안내는 나는 속도 없고 세게 하지 여기 흘러던 너 monster 악셀을 잡은 할 때까지 당기고 놓지 마 사과를 할 스키마 여기가 순점을 지나도 멈추지 않은 스피드 앞길을 빛나준 일 타오르는 light 마그마
네, 어떻게 들었죠?
난 바퀴 들고 다시 돌아왔어 그만큼 들고 다시 올라왔어 소문 나지 않게 먹을 거 없다는 소문 나쁜 소문 내려왔어 과하게 한 상처는 났으니 공복으로 와 이번이 벌써 어떤 건지야 보이면 웃어 예쁘게 맘만 다시며 그냥 취미로 들이대봤자 명한 못 들이밀어 거기서 네가 죽었잖아 다 너무 예쁘게도 그때 그랬잖아 다
그냥
인기 명예가 뭐가 됐든 간에 원한 담내 발로 그래 걸어들어봐 그래 나 원해 친구에게 배워 연타로 분위기를 태웠지 Back to back to back 3-3번에 회 꺼졌지 스포츠다 10 그리고 5 그리고 6
난 다시 마그마 회사 악셀을 할 때까지 당기고 놓지 마 사그들 날 스피마 여기는 순점을 지나도 멈추지 않아 스피드 앞길을 빛나준 내 타오르는 moonlight 마그마 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 마그마
이렇게 되면
The world is mine Ask about me 소리 질러 다 탈 때까지
아마 양각 잡을 수
대지 말게 그 손에 달렸지 갈 때까지 안 들리네 주변에 잡음 내가 느끼고 있는 건 속도밖에 놓지 마 떼지 마라 멈추지 마 끝까지 질러 The world is mine Ask about me 소리 질러 다 탈 때까지 놓지 마 떼지 말게 그 손에 달렸지 갈 때까지 확실한 그래 내가 winner I'm 멈출 끝까지 질러 부르고 뭐야 I'm a sleep I'm a sleep 멈춘 적 없어 yeah hands on it 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 hands on it
와도 됩니다. 우리 친구
Slip inside the eye of your mind. Don't you know you might find a better place to play? You said that you've never been, but all the things that you've seen will slowly fade away. So I start a revolution from my bed. Cause you said the brains I had went to my head. Step outside, summertime's in bloom. I stand up beside the fireplace. Take that look from off your face. You ain't ever gonna burn my heart out. And so
I heard you say. At least not today.
One shot in the gap.
다 도망가는 보죠, yeah.
Two bad.
애미 내가 집어삼킨 종거, yeah.
Three for the money.
정신없는 회색 종거, yeah.
Four my fam.
BZM, Phoebe, run it up, run it up. You don't wanna follow me. 장담할게 너의 내 상대가 안 돼 big. 풍자고 나 바리고 내 눈에 놀이 같은 노력하는 게 죄라면 나는 너의 good boy. One shot in the gap. 도망가는 보죠, yeah. Two bad. 이미 내가 집어삼킨 종거, yeah. Three for the money. 정신없는 회색 종거, yeah. Four my fam. BZM, Phoebe, run it up in the jungle. 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 Life in the jungle. 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 Life in the jungle. Yeah, 몽둥이 in my hands 어디서 뻗쳐 빽대 우린 할 일들을 하고 있어 그러게래 너네들은 뭐 했는데 말들이 너무 많아 파묻었지 얼굴 뺏게 시끄러워 못 살게 내게 난 하고 싶은 거 하면서 살아가는 마음대로 I'm boss 원숭이 같은 자식들이 입만 열면 내 다리 노네 엎어버린 다음 내가 바라는 대로만 거는 너의 입도 못 열게 해 I'm cold 너저리 같은 놈들이 내 심기를 건드려 장전해 왜 뚜뚜뚜뚜 다 쓸어버려 너의 세계를 혼게 get over Here in the jungle, shut up over. What? 쳐져 뺨들 what? In the jungle, in the jungle. 돌아버려 어지러운 시계 속에 갇혀미셔 버린 모두 What? One shot in the ghetto 도망가는 버전 yeah. Two bad 이미 내가 집어삼킨 jungle yeah. Three for the money 정신없는 basic jungle yeah. Four my fam BZM Phoebe run it up in the jungle In the jungle In the jungle Life in the jungle 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 Life in the jungle
We're just jungling, yeah, rumbling, yeah. 소리 마치 rock and roll. We like gobbling, yeah, 거리긴, yeah. Now we just rock and roll. DJ turn it up. 그냥 나불대는 대로 냅둬 개내내는 애로 닫은 창문을 깨 던져버려 횃불이 busted. DJ turn it up. 펀치 네가 말한 대로 보여줘 진짜 본대로. 처음에 licks on the beat 때려 넣어맞기 열이 busted. DJ turn it up. Taking back every time 주머니 속까지 패스. 그래 말하지 못하면 그림이나 그렸지 busted. DJ turn it up. 예술가인 척을 해도 너네 상대가 안 되죠. 약한 놈들하다 그라 뺑엔 그라 세대들하도 뭔가.
In the economic mentality. Too bad you already lost in the game. Three for the money, 눈이 뒤집히는 mayhem. Can't wait to see you falling deep in the dirt. I don't take it back about what I say. I tackle from 98. They come with you one way. Tap, sign, back.
One shot in the ghetto 도망가는 버전 yeah. Two bad 이미 내가 집어삼킨 jungle yeah. Three for the money 정신없는 회색 jungle yeah. Four my fam BZM Phoebe run it up in the jungle In the jungle In the jungle Life in the jungle In the jungle In the jungle In the jungle Life in the jungle 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 Life in the jungle In the jungle In the jungle In the jungle Life in the jungle
Take me tonight. I'm an easy lover. Take me into the fight. I'm an easy brother. I'm on fire. Burn my sweet effigy. I'm a road runner. Spill my guts on the wheel. I wanna taste I'm on fire. And I'm on fire. I'm on
mind. Yeah. Money on my mind. What? Money on my mind. Yeah. Money on my mind. Yeah. What? Yeah. What? 베이스 댄 서, 나 베이스인 더 홍대 빈장 킹으로서 내 의견냈던 먹칠하는 게 취미다 보니 하도 래퍼들 따라하게 하다 보니 나 여기 너로만 마시고 비는 바지 주머니 뚫어 그래서 떠내려 버려버리는 건 it's no Listen 뻥뻥 덕성대 머저리들이 내 coast play해서 있는 뒤에 거는 누가 감수해주지 right Fuck that kill yourself 아니 세달 동안 거만 지켜만 봤다고 나 그러다 보니 지폐를 전부 가방에다 쓸어 담아 What you want in the flow 박아버리는 기에 I feel like cover 속도 빨라 hauling 너 랩 내 꿈은 calling 90s kid new wave main shout out to 콜라 형도 heartbreak 갖다 버려 집에 가는 new fashion 내 money on my mind 내 money on my mind 도리 내 머리 속에 내 money on my mind 내 money on my mind 도리 내 머리 속에 나 버려 Money on my mind 우리는 왜 타박 플러들의 개소리 다 블락 다른 빛 다른 위치 그래 같은 비타도 yes I'm different 이래는 뭐 누구나를 찾지 이런 여기까지 금방 왔지 너네 신세 한탄 술자리에서 막 그건 꽤 오래전에 끝난 케이스 여기서 저기서 겹쳐나 전부 까버려 내 머릿속 덧쩌는 걸로 세팅 가득 쳐있는데 굳이 손에 잡아야 돼넌 this top promise 네가 told you back swag 누가 무대 델리들 다 섞어래 누가 업디자인해 누가 이거 예상해 Fuck that bitches 키 비친 두개 phony 필요한 시점만 된 돈 굴리고 한된 party I'm flowing 니꺼 맨날에서 엑스카미 새로웠던 너에겐 that's your inspiration Hit million icon 내 길보의 pristine 방송 뒤에 한번 자고 한 철이지 않을지 내 money on my mind 내 money on my mind 도리 내 머리 속에 내 money on my mind 내 money on my mind 도리 내 머리 속에 나 버려
Yo, Justice 쇼미 나가며 우승이라며 근데 Justice가 누군지 누가 알아 몰랐다며 길을 막고 눈을 가렸던 따봉부 그램에서 나와 찾아 yourself like me 니가 뭔 내 가르치기라고 하면 하고 가르침 뱉는 게 나란 놈의 미친 재수없잖아 하고는 까도 니 오빠와 니 누나 동생들이 날 follow The underground king 이거 알고 싶냐 딱 니만 몰랐던 이야기 Hard to fight 12 안에 내 이름 근데 자유롭게 걸어댕기는 홍대 내 동네 그래서 연예인에 우린 연예인들 누구는 말해 인기는 마약 근데 대한민국 사는 나한테 살아봐 정리돼 속아서 볼 때가 그래서 내 힙합 랩으로 패고 보는 게 내 청사진으로 물들인 브라운과는 검은색 어줍지 않은 새끼들 보다 나 같은 놈 푸는 게 더 도움돼 이 문화의 몇억 땡 그러니까 벌어보러 갈게 몇억 Thanks Indigo Highlight Yeah you win
내 money on my mind 내 money on my mind 도리 내 머리 속에 내 money on my mind 내 money on my mind 도리 내 머리 속에 나 버려
심심할 때 앞에 두는 미안해. 맞아? 예. 맞아. 그렇게 하면 돼. 할 수 있어. 맞아. 너 무시하는 사람 생각해봐. 아이씨.
지금 내 기분은 마치 08년도 베이식 데리고 와봐 네가 랩 잘한다는 새끼 나는 좋아 니네 랩을 따라 불렀었지 지긋지긋해 사는 게 족밥처럼 사는 게 지금 내 기분은 마치 08년도 베이식 데리고 와봐 네가 랩 잘한다는 새끼 아직도 나 깨지 못할 꼬불꼬불 랩시 지긋지긋해 사는 게 족밥처럼 사는 게 베이식 오늘도 어김없이 no gym 재밌다는 래퍼들 죄다 똑같은 랩에다 똑같은 제스처 똑같은 포즈 쟤네 파는 댓글들과 자로치에 빠지게 내 묘사를 전화해봐요 아무래도 꼰대라서 못 봐주겠어 I'm not pop 내 ambitions as a writer 아무도 내 노래는 듣지 않지 근데 댓글에는 불이모지 한된 돈이 생기면 난 녹음장비 대신 사려 했지 빅스이들이 불도지 나도 당연하게 사고 싶지 비싼 차 배달래야 되는 고지서에 존나 머리 빠져 차만 내고 있지 들라는 노니까 죽었다 살아나는 건 이제 내 취미니까 봐봐 절대로 나는 슈퍼스타가 될 수 없다는 걸 알아 더 이상 나랑 어울리지도 않고 되고 싶지도 않아 어차피 시험이 끝나고 나면 3개월이면 다 똑같아 나는 계속 랩하고 있을 거니까 구독이나 빨아 지금은
네가 랩 잘한다는 새끼 나는 조강이래 랩을 따라 불렀었지 지긋지긋해 사는 게 족밥처럼 사는 게 지금 내 기분은 마치 08년도 베이직 데리고 와봐 네가 랩 잘한다는 새끼 아직도 날 깨지 못할 꿈을 꾸고 있지 지긋지긋해 사는 게 족밥처럼 사는 게
사는 게 저것도 여전히 증명하라고 내게 삭제질 웃기지 좀 마 show me it 내가 부서져 뱀 그리고 막 맞춘 걸 안에서 부러져 수로 LIU 난 모르지 후 돌아가라고 난 아무 생각 없지 부 지겨워 죽겠어 너의 훈수 가라고 돌아갈 일 없어 그래 내가 king 전부 물고 I'ma go crazy feel like I'm 08 basic own it 네가 아는 래퍼라 대과 머리부터 삼키지 own it 어설프게 나서지 마라 난 big bro 전부 보여줬지 있지만 우린 이 게임을 위해서 누가 우리 막아도 됐지 가지 않아 이 안에 너무나 들어 아무것도 안 할 때는 이제 전부 다 지나고 우승자란 꼬리표가 내 목을 조는 거 지금 바라겠어 지상으로 이젠 저기 하나 위로 우리가 올라가 차례 대천해지만 말이 원한다면 보여줄게 여기 이건 앞에 시간 우리가 올라가 차례 대천해지만 말이 원한다면 보여줄게 여기 이건 앞에 시간
08 베이스 위에 08 베이스 부져 못해 나는 all time greatest 08 베이스 위에 08 베이스 부져 못해 나는 all time greatest 더 때려 808로 날 두고 파 이제서야 살아 숨쉬어 쫓대는 네 기분 yes I love it 지금 내 기분은 마치 08년도 베이직 데리고 와봐 네가 랩 잘한다는 새끼 나는 조강이래 랩을 따라 불렀었지 지긋지긋해 사는 게 족밥처럼 사는 게 지금 내 기분은 마치 08년도 베이직 데리고 와봐 네가 랩 잘한다는 새끼 아직도 날 깨지 못할 꿈을 꾸고 있지 지긋지긋해 사는 게 족밥처럼 사는 게
Gotta get my money 긴장했지 매번 게임에 여지러니 판에 나 to the fast deal on it 전화 오는 친구들 친척이 많아 이제 원하는 건 나는 파피 데뷔 still calling Robin A scene 금을 모았지 언제든 많아 욕심난 내 것만 해 각오는 굳이 판에 꼬라지 길가기는 지울 때 I'll be shown what I'm about 원하는 게 있으면 I'm a rapper on the gas but I'm an annual volatile oh bagging on my cash 그러면 새로운 쌀을 채 시작과까지 죽음은 맞이 이제는 top 6 날 먹을 예정 후로 brought them chopsticks 예 그들은 더 이상 재미를 잃어서 랩에 평론가들 때문에 트랩 안에 붐밥들만 한다면 난 그냥 여기서 제외 니네가 원하는 게 이런 거 니네가 아는 게 이런 거 계속 이럴 거면 하나만 먹고 살아 너네 모여서 하나만 먹고 살아 We bring the fire We bring the fire cold 원나요 조심해 너들아 We bring the fire We bring the fire cold 원나요 We make it rain 119 Go ahead higher 119 Let's go good life 119 We in it listen Billy 119 all in 15K보다 elevate 고팔팀 전부 다 생전 forever so sledge 18불 아닌 8마디 하지 나를 기다려 K-pop K-game better think it better 그럼 이게 만날에 난 그냥 샤핑하면서 방심해도 돼 그런 걸 알아 wait Holy God I think I'm blessed Top 6 다 돈 사방주 안에 올라가지 like your plan yeah 마이크는 왼손에 트로피는 받는다 하늘 다 했어도 국빈 대접을 받겠지 난 예전에 했던 내가 아니야 예전에 멈춰있는 난 너만해
까지 오는 동안 매번 몇 마디가 있을까 그걸 세고 있는 분들아 난 노래하고 손가락 갈 오늘의 할까는 멜로디가 오늘의 할까는 멜로디가 오늘의 할까는 멜로디가 그럴 리가 What you want 나는 어린아이 같아 너희들은 어른스럽긴 한 거냐 What you want 나는 어린아이 같아 너희들은 어른스럽기는 한 거냐
We bring the fire We bring the fire 거워 원나야 조심해 너들아 We bring the fire We bring the fire 거워 원나야 Let's make it rain 119 Okay higher 119 This is good life 우주 119 We ambitious Billy 119 이 분위기에 릴릿 이 노래를 더 누리고 누나도 ringing First come no diesel 여덟 마디야 speed up 미소 어떤 루비던 뒤져 삼지창이 긁어 널 산을 이어줘도 난 미소 니게 쓰는 돈에 비해 비서 25살 어느 지성 비황 나 기도 에이 남자들 저든 남자같이 나는 우자고 전자는 더 벼락부자들은 뻥개보다 빨리 돈 떨며 향해서 뛰지 헤이만 해서 내 뒤지 헤이만 안해 내 뒤지 과목에 우리는 뒤지 내 역사는 6분의 1째
We bring the fire, cold war with liar. 조심해 너대로 we bring the fire, we bring the fire, cold war with liar. Let's make it real, illegal. Okay, higher, illegal. This is your life, 우주, illegal. We ambitious, Billy, illegal. Artists, only money, we bring the fire, we bring the fire, cold war with liar. 조심해 너대로 we bring the fire, we bring the fire, cold war with liar. Let's make it real, illegal. Okay, higher, illegal. This is your life, 우주, illegal. We ambitious, Billy, illegal. Artists, only money,
Make some noise, make some noise.
어두운 그대로 내비둬 억지로 밝아질 건 뭐 있어 딱 촛불 하나 정도 저 조명 따윈 내게 빛이 될 순 없어 눈 뜨고 다시 찾아온 아침 혼자만 또 흐린 멍텅한 날씨 습기 가득 창 왼쪽에 눈으로 바라본 내 꿈만은 선명하길 입김을 불어 계속 그 바람 앞에 흔들릴 뻔했어 호흡 가다듬고 네 시선에 맞춰 내두는 게 속 부릅떠 단정 짓지만의 감성은 절대 사고 팔 수 있는 것이 아닌지 내 촛대 심지에 불이 붙은 순간 난 최면을 걸게 내 눈앞에서 꺼져줬으면 좋겠어
미쳐가는 것 같아 뭔가 신경처럼 넋을 놔 깨어나는 순간 you gonna die 새세면 잠듭니다 왼손
알게 모르게 난 널 무리 시킬 게네 최면놀이 빨간머리 촛불들이 꺼지고니 정신머리 잠들고니 마이크폰에 약물들이 붙고 들이박힌 편견에 바꿀 드라마틱한 곡을 써내줘 쟤는 방식이야 목표는 바뀌잖아 폭은 2배 뛰어내 삶 3배가 있어 난 지금이 3분의 무대가 전부인 듯이 날 최면 걸어 이제 막 단한 걸음 뛰어낸 거란 말해 우 2년 전에 페인 랜선 금색의 체인 랜선 목에 걸지 못했던 순간에 게임은 시작돼 난 지금 무대 위에 단정 짓지만의 감성은 절대 사고 팔 수 있는 것이 아니지 내 촛대 심지에 불이 붙은 순간 난 최면을 걸게 내 눈앞에서 꺼져줬으면 좋겠어 레슨
왼손 미쳐가는 거야 다 뭔가 신경처럼 넋을 놔 깨어나는 순간 you gonna die 새세면 잠듭니다 왼손
내 인생은 끝없는 명암에 뒤바뀌는 싸움 낙가방보단 뻥난 사이키 예전에 소리 질러야만 사람들이 내 말 들었었지만 이젠 기대고 입 앞에 와있지 내 존재 부정하는 놈들은 어디 한번 안 키고 땀 흘리면서 괜찮다며 뻥을 쳐 내가 누군지 알잖아 근데 모를 수도 있는 내 몸을 돌아봤고 돈을 올렸다는 걸
미쳐가는 거야 다 뭔가 신경처럼 넋을 놔 깨어나는 순간 you gonna die 새세면 잠듭니다 왼손
내비둬 억지로 밝아질 건 뭐 있어 딱 촛불 하나 정도 저 조명 따윈 내게 빛이 될 순 없어 눈 뜨고 다시 찾아온 아침 혼자라도 꽤 화창한 날씨 습기 가득 찬 왼쪽의 눈으로 바라본 내 꿈 선명하지
こんなこといいなできたらいいなあんな夢こんな夢いっぱいあるけどみんなみんなみんな叶えてくれる不思議なポッケで叶えてくれる空を自由に飛びたいな
はいタケコプタータケコプター
宿題とは試験に扱いあんなことこんなこと大変だけどみんなみんなみんな助けてくれる便利な道具で助けてくれるあもちゃんの兵隊だ
それ突撃あんなこといいないけたらいいなこの国あの島たくさんあるけどみんなみんなみんな行かせてくれる未来の機械で叶えてくれる世界旅行に行きたいな どこでもドア
こんにちは、高見でございます。本日も動画を見てください誠にありがとうございます。前回夢を叶えてドラえもんを歌ったんですけども、なんと TikTok で1000万再生を超えました。イエーイ！今回はですね、インドネシアと
心の中いつもいつも描いてる夢を乗せた自分だけの世界地図
タケコプター
空を飛んで時を越えて遠い国でもドアを開けてほら行きたい今すぐ
ドアどこでもドア
大人になったら忘れちゃうのかなそんな時には思い出してみようシャララララ僕
輝く宝物を探そうよ4次元ポケット道に迷っても泣かないでいいよ秘密の道具で助けてあげるよシャララララ口笛吹いて高らかに歩き出そうドラえもんあの街まで届けばいいねシャララララ僕らの未来夢がいっぱい溢れてるよドラえもん君がいればみんなが笑顔になる大人になってもきっと忘れない大切な想いいつまでもずっとシャララララ僕の心にいつまでも輝く夢ドラえもんそのポケットで叶えさせてねシャララララ歌を歌おうみんなでさ手をつないでドラえもん世界中に夢をそう溢れさせて
皆さんこんにちは、高井でございます。本日も動画を見てくださって誠にありがとうございました。もしいいなと思っていただきましたら高評価とチャンネル登録ぜひよろしくお願いします。やばいマジで痛いマジでこのタイツ痛い
語り油汚れもこれでバイバイ誰だ頭の中呼びかける声はあれが欲しいこれが欲しいとだって幸せになりたい愛して生きていたいこの手に掴みたいあなたのその胸の中ハッピーで埋め尽くして Rest in peace まで行こうぜいつか見た地獄のいいところ愛をばらまいて I love you けなしてくれ全部奪って笑ってくれ My honey Don't let me lie beautiful star Don't let me lie beautiful star Don't let me lie beautiful star なんか忘れちゃってんだアングリこじ寄せて吐きそうな人生止まない雨はないより先にその傘を飲む欲しいこれが欲しい全て欲しいただ虚しい幸せになりたい楽して生きてたい全部めちゃくちゃにしたい何もかも消さりたいあなたのその胸の中ラッキーで埋め尽くして Rest in peace まで行こうぜ良い子だけ迎える天国じゃどうも生きらない I love you けなしてうねって笑ってくれ My honey Don't let me lie beautiful star Don't let me lie beautiful star Don't let me lie beautiful star なんか忘れちゃってんだ Happy Lucky こんにちは baby 良い子で
be free. Follow our dedication and Z-code, the motherfucking remix. Let's go. 우린 거북선 다른 애들 통통 그냥 통통 떨어져라 통통 커지는 네 동공 느껴지는 고통. 우린 통통 너희 그냥 보통. 우린 거북선 다른 애들 통통 그냥 통통 떨어져라 통통 커지는 네 동공 느껴지는 고통. 우린 통통 너희 그냥 보통. 우린 거북선 다른 애들 통통. Hold on 우린 알게 너와 다른 ozone highlight 하늘위로 나서있는 soldiers 공평 따윈 내 싸움이지 무의미한 도전. My ninjas flying over oceans. You bitches vying for attention. 너네들이 질투하는 것은 기집애들이나 갖고 있는 특성. 그냥 그저 극혐. 절대로 누구에게도 안 주는 two fucks. You saw 제일 센 형제들끼리 다 뭉쳐. 일단 대한민국 무대 모두 부셔. 적이 되기 전에 폭등하는 거를 추천. Be very afraid. 말 함부로 뱉다가 시작되는 전쟁. 친구 아니면 무조건 경계. 끝까지 빗 갖고 와봐 구워줄게. 싹도 위에
We so fly so high 여긴 부족해 산소 나 welcome the highlight 항공 business class 승무원이 가져와 땅콩 우리 회사 주가도 상승 얘네 적들은 미리 구해 산소 나는 차사 너는 차깡통 언더도 노버든 래퍼든 아이돌 상관없어 타이틀 돈 버전 let's get paid 가장 중요한 건 실력 남들과 차원 다른 비전 진정성 내 기사가 실려 실검 미리 근데 사진은 내가 아닌 송석형 꼬마들이 손가락질하며 욕하지 컴퓨터를 앞에 두고 센 척 근데 나는 괜찮아 다 튕겨나가 다 밀어붙여 나는 인간 거북선
우리 거북선 다른 애들 통통 그냥 통통 떨어져라 통통 커지는 네 동공 느껴지는 고통. 우린 통통 너희 그냥 보통. 우린 거북선 다른 애들 통통 그냥 통통 떨어져라 통통 커지는 네 동공 느껴지는 고통. 우린 통통 너희 그냥 보통.
내 척의 범고래 한 마리 5 deep underwater exhale through the nose 내 스타일 바이트봐 나는 청산가리 나를 씹는 순간 you fashion lord goddamn 네 여친은 나를 꿈속에서 봤대 나는 것만 절반에 나머지는 겸손 중요한 건 balance 외줄타기 선수 거기서 거기 넌 재벌이세 아님 거지 나머지는 나머지고 우린 같은 아버지 족밥 같은 래퍼스 돈 뺏어다가 다 나눴지 전부 다 나눴지 파티 열어요 uninvited
마치 나라는 듯 판단하고 그 말 듣고 만약에 망하라고 넌 가짜도 진짜도 아냐 그냥 나라고 싫으면 떠나줘 현실엔 없는 너네 맞을 상관없지 그보다 큰 것을 난 가졌지 가는 곳마다 사랑 보이네 나 반겨주는 사람 모이네 솔직히 진짜 친구는 몇 안 돼 주변에 내 지갑을 훔치려는 노랗게 믿어주는 사람들 정말로 고맙네 돈 벌릴수록 사랑해 배가 고팠게 현실을 회피하는 병신들 많아 정신을 차려 씨발 열심히 살아 누가 밥 먹여주지 않아 절대로 나 마음 열어주지 않아 우리 거북선 다른 애들 통통 그냥 통통 떨어져라 통통 커지는 네 통통 느껴지는 고통 우리 통통 너희 그냥 보통 우리 거북선 다른 애들 통통 그냥 통통 떨어져라 통통 커지는 네 동공 느껴지는 고통 우린 통통 너희 그냥 보통 너희 그냥 보통 우린 보통이 아냐 본토 같이 못할 거면 나를 본드 What the fuck 넌 항로를 잘못 들었어 후회할 거야 내 수중에 under 난 물들어올 때 계속 노자 블루오션에서 마저 호적 때는 맥주병도 거품 가라앉는 와중에도 차투비 것들이 살아남은 거북선 어깨도끼 got flow 모두 내 손에 써 소민호를 저작권 부자로 만든 프로듀서 상인성은 보물섬 떨어지는 포물선들 이게 마지노선이야 노선 무차별적인 삿대질 덕에 난 쉽게 주목을 받았고 무심코 너희가 던진 돌에 날 두른 편견이 깨져날 것이 세상들이 예시할 차례 모방과 영감을 구분하지 못해 왜 짜증나면 네 얼굴도 표절했다 해 어넥도트 듣고 뻐꾸기 그만 날려맨 나 연봉을 열봉이라고 발음해 맘만 먹으면 쭉 늘어나기에 I got enemies I got a lot of enemies 내겐 갈별로 소장되는 bearbrick
우린 거북선 다른 애들 통통 그냥 통통 떨어져라 통통 커지는 네 동공 느껴지는 고통 우린 통통 너희 그냥 보통 우린 거북선 다른 애들 통통 그냥 통통 떨어져라 통통 커지는 네 동공 느껴지는 고통 우린 통통 너희 그냥 보통
ヒーローにどこでどっちも似てないことは分かってるよ。泣き虫と虫が一人頼りないか細い手でも繋いで僕ら二人もう寂しくはないはずさ。ありふれた言葉で君に伝えたいことずっと一人で頑張ってきたんだね。もう大丈夫。世界を照らす魔法は大事。得意必殺の技は出せない。でも悲しくてたまらない時は僕も泣いてあげる。頼りない君だけのヒーロー。涙をくらい空に飾るような世界だ。ちょっとだけどっかに行きたくなる気もわかるよ。泣き虫小虫が二人僕も気丈な方じゃないよ。もし泣きたくなったら一緒に泣いてしまおう。二人ぼっちのメロディーこの世界がどんなに暗くなっても大丈夫。不甲斐なさな世界一で笑うようにずっと泣いてるけど、でも長い雨に震える時は傘を差してあげる。約束だよ君のヒーロー。だから僕は歌うと決めたんだ。暗い夜にも届くように。だから僕は歌うと決めたんだ。一人きりにはしないように。だから僕は歌うと決めたんだ。誰に見向きもされなさって。そこに君がいる。それだけが全て。世界を照らす魔法はないし、得意必殺の技は出せない。でも悲しくてたまらない時は僕も泣いてあげる。頼りない君だけのヒーロー。I'm a hero。羽渡り数センチの不信感が挙句の果て静脈を刺しちゃって。病弱な愛が飛び出すもんね。レスポールさえも今日を切り替えてしまいました。ノンフィクション。数学と理科は好きですが国語がどうもダメで嫌いでした。
しいって言うんだ寂しいって言うんだ言葉でこの感じが読めますがあの子の心象はやめますがその心を蹴らくそめたのはおい誰なんだよおい誰なんだよその場でこの席を解けますがあの子の君のをも解けますが僕たちこのまんまでいいんですがおいどうすんだよもうどうだっていいよ
Whether it's for points or if it's a non-sanctioned, non-point tournament, like we go for the competition, we go for the community, we go for the Pokemon. So anytime you get the chance to meet up with some of your friends, play some VGC, we highly recommend.
Well, speaking of competition, Pokemon, and fun, let's take a look back at the Sacramento Regional Championships that just wrapped up 2 weeks ago and crowned a new regional champion.
Hey Pokemon fans, the Sacramento Regional was a blast, with exciting Pokemon battles all weekend long. Time to go back and revisit the fun. Regulation E was developing in a variety of ways, with trainers bringing some interesting picks around their strong meta Pokemon, like neutralizing Weezing and Frigid Baxcalibur. We also saw a return of old dogs with new tricks, with the rise of the Dondozo and Tatsugiri combination that never seems to fall out of the spotlight for long. It wasn't just strong Pokemon of the past on the rise yet again, as Riley Factura was making his third deep tournament run this season. With a strong team of 6, it was quick 2-0s through the top 8 bracket to be the first finalist and the one to beat. On the other end of the bracket, we saw quite the unusual but somehow perfect pairing making their way to finals. Komao and Tyranitar, piloted by Michael Zhang. Going into the finals, it was time to see if Michael could take down the recent regional champion. With a strong start in Game 1, his Komao instantly set the pace, and Riley was never quite able to catch up. Adjustments in Game 2 from Riley brought the game right down to the wire, with the ultimate standoff between his Qianpao and Michael's final Pokemon. In the end, Komao was too strong, and Michael Zhang earned the title of Sacramento Regional Champion.
Komao survives, fires back at Ironhead, and Michael Zhang takes down Riley, becomes your Sacramento, California Regional Champion.
Now, it's your turn to show us you can compete with the best. Check out Pokemon.com/compete to join in on the action.
It was an incredible weekend in Sacramento, and not least of which, both Riley Factura continuing his dominant run of these first 3 regionals in the season, as well 6 unique Pokemon in the finals, or 12 unique Pokemon, 6 on each side.
6, so they have the same team, just 6 unique Pokemon.
The opposite of what I just said.
It's a trick.
Riley, of course, a championship, top 8, and finals in his first 3 regionals. Not even his first 3, the first 3 regionals of the season. Incredibly impressive. But more impressive in Sacramento 2 weeks ago was, of course, Michael Zhang, our champion, coming out with the Tyranitar and the Komao, which are 2 things that haven't seen a whole lot of success so far this year, but clearly good enough to take home a championship.
Yeah, I think Komao is one of those Pokemon that's always been very situational. There's a couple different ways you can play it. Back in Generation 7 in the Alola region, you had access to Z moves, and Clangorous Soul Blaze was really cool, giving yourself a stat boost. Now it's up for Body Press to boost your defense, and with all these physical attackers around, that's a pretty nice thing to have as well.
Yeah, being able to actually deal damage based off of a sky-high defense stat seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, as long as you don't get crit, I guess.
We don't talk about that.
Michael was able to avoid the crits in his finals match and took home the regional championship in Sacramento. He joins James Beck, who won the Peoria, Illinois regional championship, and his finalist runner-up in Sacramento, Riley Factura. Our 3 regional champions in the North America Regional. We will be crowning a new one this weekend. And you can see, here is our leaderboard in North America. And of course, Riley is just running away with it. Came very close to hitting the 500 championship points marker to qualify based on points and based off of regional championship wins.
I think if he won the finals match in Sacramento, we would have had over 500. So we would have had an invitation from Sacramento and from Pittsburgh and from points. So he's set for like 3 years, right? They carry over, I think?
Yeah, about that. There's no rollovers, unfortunately. But there are donations, so Riley, hit me up.
Please.
Well, I do have the results of our community poll here for the match coming up. We are going to be seeing Edgar Menendez versus Olivia Milecki coming up for our first match of the day, which should be an exciting one, seeing some local talent here in Toronto, trying to keep a championship in Canada.
I mean, we'll have to see how that works out as well. I mean, it worked out very well at the Vancouver Regional Championships last year with Abdullah taking home the crown, literally his first regional as well. So I don't know, Toronto's across the pond. I know there's a lot of people from the New England area invading, as we don't typically have our regional championship this year, unfortunately. So we'll see. I'm personally Team New England, but I'm also very, very biased. So
I'm team whoever gives the coolest teams. I want to see fun stuff on
so
stream.
You're Team Cool Team.
Team Cool Team, yeah.
No, you're Team Rocket because you want to steal those Pokemon,
You
right?
can't tell people that. It's a secret.
All right,
well,
we have plenty of options to steal teams if you're Jake, or get inspired if you're anyone else, including from across the pond last week. The Lille Regional Championship saw Simone Sanvito take a win over Aurelian Sola. And these are two teams that I think are going to be extremely dominant and meta-defining in this weekend and probably in the Latin American International Championships as well.
I 100% agree. I just don't think there's a lot of time between now and LAIC and maybe even San Antonio for the metagame to really develop. And the things about these teams is that they're all very strong Pokemon. You know, they have very well-defined purposes. Chen Pao with the Swords of Ruin ability, dropping the defense across the board so that your physical attacks do more damage. There's great synergy there with Rillaboom, who gets priority Grassy Glide again, now that the TM was introduced in the DLC. Fluttermane, don't need to talk about Fluttermane.
We know Fluttermane.
All these Pokemon are tried and true. Like, they're just very good Pokemon. They're very strong cores. And I think what set Simone apart last weekend was just his ability to play through the matches, his ability to look at the board state and figure out, okay, this is my win condition. These are the Pokemon I need to win.
I feel a special need to give a shout out to the Thunderous. We haven't seen my genie brother that much this year, but finally coming through with a win.
And here we have our current regional champions from the European region. Of course, Simone Sanvito has joined 2022 world champion Eduardo Cunha as the 2 Worlds qualifiers already out of the EU region. So both 2 extreme threats for the World Championships have already qualified. And you can see we have Aurelian in the 3rd position after coming up in the finals in Lille. And we do have some of the players here. I know I saw Eric Rios on the roster competing here in Toronto. He's there in 9th place on the European leaderboard. But we're going to see plenty from these players.
Yeah, I love seeing trainers travel to these events overall. You know, I think that Pokemon is the best excuse to travel. You get to see all your friends, you get to hang out for a weekend, and then you can also see the local sites. You know, I've heard that Toronto has a lot of fantastic restaurants in the area.
Yeah.
We're like right on the waterfront, which is beautiful. So there's a lot to do here. It's a great location, and it's great to see trainers take advantage of that.
It's a great city to travel to. I think it's pretty accessible from a lot of places around the globe even.
Yeah.
So it makes it really convenient. I know one other player from Europe that's here is Marco Silva, who is a past IC champion as well. Not on that leaderboard just yet, but certainly trying to make his way onto it after this event.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there may be some shakeups on that leaderboard after Toronto in both the North American and the European region, which is wild to think about. But they're going to have to get through a grueling gauntlet featuring some of the top Pokemon in the world right now. And the top dog is Hisuian Arcanine, which has swept the Regulation E regionals so far, going 3 for 3 regional championships for this Pokemon, the Hisuian, the ancient form of the Cantonian favorite.
And it makes sense too. Intimidate's a really good ability. We've kind of hammered that on every stream we've ever had in this game for the last however many years it's existed. It's just one of the best abilities in the game. And especially now that it has the option to terrestrialize, that makes it it gives it the ability to turn from a rock fire type, which isn't the best defensive typing necessarily, especially when you consider the other Intimidate Pokemon is Landorus, who would just wipe it out with Stomping Tantrum. But if you can turn it into a water type, a fairy type, a normal type, all common terrestrialized types for it, it gives it so much more mileage.
Yeah, and I think the thing that sets it apart from the Landorus Therian as well, because, you know, those are the two Intimidate Pokemon that we're seeing the most of. They both have Rock Slide, so obviously they kind of fill the same niche. But having access to Extreme Speed, being able to run Choice Band pretty comfortably, all things considered, and not having to use your Terrestrialization to deal damage, like you see with the Landorus Therian and the Terra Flying Terra Blast, I think is really valuable as well. So it's a fantastic Pokemon. It's a very good boy, and I am here for Team Good Boys.
Well, Team Good Boy is matched up really well into the existing meta because the meta is so physically based right now. There are so many top-tier threats that hit from the physical spectrum. We saw that was part of why the Como team was as strong as it was, being able to boost its defense and then deal damage based off of that defense. But you think about the top threats in the meta right now. You think of the Urshifu, you think of Rillaboom, Chien-Pao, Dragonite, Hisuian Arcanine, also the Landorus, so many top physical threats and not a whole lot of special attackers out there right now.
Yeah, there's also all of the Ogerpon, all of the great friends.
Ogerpon,
yeah. You know, I think that right now in the metagame where we're at, it's so physically offensive that one way you're going to see trainers pivot is run more Intimidates, is run more Will-O-Wisps, or the ability to just drop attack in general. I think the other way that we're going to see people adjust is by running screens. So we've seen Alolan Ninetales get more popular as it has Aurora Veil, which sets up both at once. I think I've seen a couple of Grimmsnarls in play today who also have access to those screens. Klefki, Alberto Lara's Pokemon from last season. Basically, the way that you match that extra offense is you just slow it down with a ton of defense. And I think that's what we're going to see from this weekend.
Especially if you could think back to like the top 12 usage from the past few regionals, a lot of times it's like Fluttermane and 11 physical attackers.
Yeah.
Like there's so much incentive to bulk up against those physical Pokemon that maybe try to find a way to break through otherwise.
Yeah.
Totally. And you can see our caster predictions on stream here. I have opted to go for a full special attacking roster here. I am hoping that some of these Pokemon can break through. Of course, the Glamora is most commonly paired with Dondozo. It's out there in the field paired with Dondozo. I'm hoping for some special attacking Glamora out there as well. Alongside Salamence, which is the only special attacking Intimidator out in the field. You can sort of hack it with some of the other Pokemon, but Salamence actually has good special damage. Of course, Farigiraf, special attack, but also one of the best support Pokemon in the game with that ability to block priority. And Goldango has been the second tier special attacker after Fluttermane for a while now.
But why run for Farigiraf when you could just fully commit to Trick Room? Just throwing it out there. You said you wanted some tricks. You said you did not want the treats. I'm seeing a lot of treats on your team. I don't see any tricks.
Yeah, you're right. Your roster does have the most tricks of all of them.
I feel like neutralizing gas is more of a trick. Like you thought you had an ability, think again. You got tricked.
But it doesn't have trick in the name. Trick Room.
That's true.
It's literally in the name.
Okay,
Jake.
I see what you're going for.
Give me this one.
You got it.
Well, let's take a look at some of our Canadian players to watch here. We have a roster of 3 incredible players from Canada that we're going to be keeping an eye on this entire weekend. Of course, got to kick it off with Abdullah Mohayyadeen, who, of course, won the Vancouver Regional Championships, his first ever regional championships. We saw Justin Tang do that previously. Abdullah also did that, and then had a really deep run at the World Championships last year. So definitely a player to keep your eye on if you are cheering on Canada this weekend.
Yeah, Marcus as well. I feel like he's had so many close top cuts recently, and it's really great to see him on this graphic, and hopefully we'll see him do well today as well.
And Kylan, if you only follow Masters, maybe not a name you're as familiar with, but was the seniors champion at Vancouver last year alongside Abdullah in the Masters division, and did very well at the World Championships this past year as well. His first year as a Master, but hoping to make a big splash here.
All right, well, the competitors are out there in the field, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to let them have all of the fun. I want to compete too. And we are actually going to be having our own little art competition here in the lounge. Over the course of the weekend, you'll be able to see myself, Gabby, Jake, Sierra, and Aaron, and all of our casting team carving some pumpkins out here, and they're going to be real fun, and there will be a prize. And Twitch chat, you will be able
You
to
didn't
vote on
mention that before.
There will be
Okay.
a prize, and I have to tell you, as soon as I found out that there was a prize, my competitive nature kicked in.
It's on.
And, like,
Oh, jeez.
it's not going to be fun.
Oh no.
Well, I would say good luck, have fun, but apparently we're just going to go throw hands. So
Yeah,
I'll see you in the back
If you like
after
mysteriously
this.
find a hole in your pumpkin, it definitely wasn't me. I promise. I promise.
Well, if you want to vote for your favorite pumpkins ahead of time, or if you want to see some of the casters out there trying to curry favor, you can follow us on socials at @PlayPokemon. Use that hashtag #PlayPokemon to see all of the information and posts from the tournament. One of the most fun things of the weekend is seeing everyone posting their results. You can catch all the VODs on YouTube/Pokemon. You can also, of course, watch the stream there and on Twitch. And also catch up on Instagram and on all of your social channels to find out all of the pictures, all of the graphics, all of the fun things that are happening this weekend, because that really is the competition that you're watching here on stream is only a part of it. Really, it's about everyone being here together.
Yeah.
All right, well, we are just about ready to get into our first match. We're going to take a real quick break, and when we get back, we will have our round 3 Swiss lineup, so stay tuned.
It's time to start getting underway with the Toronto Regional Championships. I cannot wait to get started with the competition and be able to be on the casting desk to kick things off. I'm Sierra Dawn, joined here by Aaron Zhang. We're getting all the tricks and treats this weekend for Halloween. It should be so much fun though, because it is, of course, another regional weekend.
Yeah, of course. It's been such an exciting start to the season, and to be able to do it in Canada, your home country, makes it especially exciting. So I am honored to be here with you, Sierra.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be that Canadian representative. They had to bring me out. There had to be at least one Canadian here. But before we get too far underway with our tournament, of course, we need to get everyone up to speed on how it's going to go down. So check this out.
This 2024 Regional Championships event will be showcasing exciting Pokemon VG matches all weekend. Trainers from around the globe are here to compete for over $125,000 in cash prizes, travel awards, and championship points to qualify for Worlds 2024 in Honolulu, Hawaii. This tournament is a 2-day event, starting our trainers off in Swiss rounds. All matches are best of 3 and will utilize an open team list format. This means that each Pokemon's Terra type, ability, held item, and moves are available to the opponent. The trainers earning 19 or more match points or placing in the top 32 will advance forward to Sunday, Day 2. Day 2, trainers will continue playing Swiss rounds until top cut is determined. The competition then shifts to a single elimination bracket where trainers battle until a single regional champion is crowned. Who is taking home the title of regional champion this weekend? Who will secure the points to qualify for Worlds 2024 in Honolulu? Stay tuned this weekend and watch all the action live. If you want to learn more about upcoming Play Pokemon events, visit pokemon.com/play.
And of course, being in Canada, we had to be kicking things off right over here to start off our competition and highlight some of the local talent that we have here in Canada. Because, hey, I know there's a lot of American regional champions. I know that there's a lot of American regionals, but we have some strong talent up here too, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's not forget that Canada represented North America at the World Championships, with Abdullah finishing in the top 8 in his first ever season. So definitely a player that I'm really excited to see, but we won't be featuring him for this very first round. It's going to be Olivia versus Edgar here, and it's going to be an exciting matchup because we've actually got a mirror match here.
Yeah, and looking back at these players as well, the teams might be quite similar, but their paths to be getting to this point are quite different. Olivia qualified for Worlds quite a few years, and as well getting day 2s in multiple regionals last year, whereas on the other end, Edgar, this is his very first event, so it'll be really, really interesting to see how that experience will come into play with the team. Though even though it is a 6 Pokemon mirror, some of the moves and stuff that we have are quite different.
Yeah, I'm really excited just because, of course, we've been playing this open team sheet format. You can see now we get to see the players' teams on the screen with all the information. And so what you see on the screen right now is what Edgar has access to. So he knows all of the moves, the items, as well as the abilities that Olivia has. And once again, they have the same 6 Pokemon, but one thing that's going to be really important to pay attention into this matchup is the speed interactions. It's actually, I think, very unlikely that most of these Pokemon have the exact same speed stats. So many different speed tiers that you can hit with all of these individual ones. And so, yeah, we took a quick look at Olivia's team right now. Of course, now we're switching over to Edgar. And as you can see, there already are some key differences. For example, the Chien-Pao on Edgar's side does not have Sacred Sword. And Heatrank here is a leftover set rather than an Assault Vest that Olivia's running.
Yeah, that Assault Vest instead being saved for that Rillaboom that he has access to. And then looking at even just the Dragonite having this double priority with this Aqua Jet as well as that extreme speed that we get to see on a lot of these Choice Band Dragonite sets. So it'll be quite interesting as well, because they do have access to this Farigiraf, that all of a sudden this creates quite a weird situations with the other Pokemon around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my big questions here is, do the players bring Farigiraf? Because Farigiraf blocks priority and both teams actually have so much priority. So from Edgar's side, and Farigiraf does hit the field from Olivia's side.
So right off of the gate, the priority over on Edgar's part of the field is going to be shut down thanks to this Armored Tail. Be interesting to see if he has that hidden in the back though. But over on Olivia's end, we were talking about the speed interactions. Of course, there is that option to be going for the Trick Room. If you think that you are 100%
Sure, you really want to commit to Surging Strikes. You see Olivia opting for that U-turn option. That's a lot of good damage onto Rillaboom, honestly, and you're able to pivot out your Urshifu as well. Also, we see that Olivia's Urshifu moves first, and so one of the big questions I had going into this matchup is whose Urshifu is actually faster. That could play a really important role in the SN game, but Dragonite a nice switch in here to be able to take some attacks from the opposing side.
Not the only Pokemon that's going to be U-turning out, though. It'll be that Urshifu with that U-turn into the Farigiraf, also dealing a sizable amount of damage. And now we're going to get an extra little peek at what Edgar does have in for the Pokemon in back. It will be the Chien-Pao in this case.
Oh, if it's a Woodhammer going to Farigiraf, I think Farigiraf just faints here. You get that sort of Rune defense drop as well. So let's see who Rillaboom targets. It is into the Farigiraf. Let's see if that's a knockout. It absolutely is.
And with that knockout too, that is going to be that priority blocking gone now. So Edgar, there is this opportunity now with this Chien-Pao later on to be going for that, or even unlocking the Grassy Glides with that Rillaboom.
Yeah, it's a really big deal to get rid of that because Edgar has priority attacks on all of the Pokemon he's revealed so far. There's the Grassy Glide on that Rillaboom, there's that Sucker Punch on the Chien-Pao, and Aqua Jet on Urshifu. And so now Dragonite is at least positioned where you can potentially go for that extreme speed. But if you're Olivia, do you worry about Edgar having Farigiraf as the potential 4th Pokemon? I think Dragonite's a really awkward one to bring into this matchup because it can be so strong, but if Farigiraf switches in at any point, with this being a Choice Band Dragonite, then you just basically won't be able to accomplish anything for that turn. But if it's not Farigiraf in the back, then yeah, this play makes a ton of sense. You can just extreme speed, knock out the Rillaboom, Surging Strikes with that Choice Scarf onto Chien-Pao. Super strong option as well. So I'm really curious if Edgar has hidden Farigiraf as the 4th option in the back.
It'll be so huge, and Olivia locking into that extreme speed as well. So it'll be quite interesting to see if that is in fact the 4th and final Pokemon, or if Edgar thought that going into this, it wasn't the choice. If it is in the back, well, it's not going to be coming and hitting the field yet, as instead, we're just going to be going on with things, and this is where we're going to see some terrestrializations. First, the water coming out from the Urshifu.
Yeah, the lack of a switch there makes me think there's just no Farigiraf in the back, and so this is a big turn. There's a lot of damage coming out here with that sort of Rune defense drop. Choice Band Extreme Speed just gets the knockout onto Rillaboom, preventing a Grassy Glide onto the Urshifu slot. This Urshifu is, of course, Choice Scarf as well, so Surging Strikes just able to do so much damage into Chien-Pao. Is it able to get the knockout? It's quite close. Oh, I think so.
I don't know. I think it might.
Oh, my goodness.
Chien-Pao not going to be hanging on in this case. So that is going to be a double KO for Olivia on this turn. Sure, maybe Edgar unlocked the ability to be using the priority, but that S2 with the extreme speed having absolutely no chance to do it, and now in such a bad position, we will be able to see that last
Farograph in the back.
It was the Farograph, so this had it popped in just a little bit sooner. That could have made all the difference.
Yeah, there were so many potential switches that could have happened last turn. Now Dragonite forced to switch out, but it feels like Farograph came out maybe a little bit too late. The upside for Edgar right now is that you do get 2 free switch-ins, and you know that this Dragonite slot is just completely useless for the turn. But Surging Strikes onto the Farograph is a super, super safe play. And it's not like Edgar can get a quick knockout onto the Urshifu slot either. One play you do have is maybe something like a Helping Hand from Farograph into a close combat onto Olivia's Urshifu. I wonder if that's enough to get the KO, but then you lock yourself into close combat, which is part of the downside, right? So having a late game choice Pokemon when you have fewer Pokemon than your opponent can feel really awkward because you have to only commit to 1 attack. So for Edgar right now, it's a question of you lock into Surging Strikes or close combat.
And of course, the Dragonite switching out, since it was locked into an extreme speed that was going to be shut off, it will be the Rillaboom hitting the field once again, as now we're going to be able to see that Terastallization coming out from Edgar's. Considering it is the Urshifu, not quite surprised to see that it is going to be this water type as well.
Yeah, the water type allows you to deal more damage with Surging Strikes, but Olivia having the faster Urshifu, we were talking about that earlier, and it's not going to do that much damage into Farograph, but every little bit of damage counts right now. And I think Olivia's just really well positioned, especially with Dragonite not really being threatened that much by Surging Strikes from the opposing side either.
At least the Surging Strikes is going to be doing just enough damage to get that Citrus Berry recovery onto the Farograph, trying to stay around for just a little bit longer, make sure it can be as useful as possible on the next turn, as now it's Edgar's time to go onto the offensive. Instead, though, targeting the Surging Strikes into the Rillaboom. Of course, in Resisted, it's going to be taking this so well. These are 3 critical hits, and it's not even bringing it down below half.
Yeah, Rillaboom just such a good Pokemon in this matchup because you have such good defensive capabilities against Urshifu. Trick Room gets set up, but now you have a Choice Scarf Urshifu under Trick Room against the Rillaboom, which has Wood Hammer. And so I think this game is basically over. That Trick Room makes sense. You're hoping for the last Pokemon to not be Rillaboom on the opposing side, but with Rillaboom out, it's just a perfect position for Olivia, and I think we'll see her comfortably take this first match. And a lot of it comes down to that one turn where we saw the double knockout. I think a Farograph switch in there would have drastically changed things, but nothing Farograph can really do here to prevent this knockout from happening.
No, that going on the offensive with the Dazzling Gleam, just doing a slimmer of damage, and it's nothing compared to the one-hit KO coming out with the Wood Hammer onto Edgar's Urshifu. So now, this Farograph that could have been so clutch, so key in this matchup, the only one around, and now it's going to have to take a barrage of hits from this Surging Strike. Might be able to stick around for one more after this, but beyond that, there's nothing it can really do. So Edgar really having to reflect on that one turn.
Yeah, it was a tricky turn. I want to talk a little bit about why Edgar may be considered not switching into Farograph. We know that Olivia's Dragonite here actually has Aerial Ace, so Edgar might have thought, well, I could have Farograph in the back. You have to respect that option, so if you go for Aerial Ace, then I can go for this Grassy Glide. I have that defense drop with sort of Rune on Champao as well. Farograph just going for a Helping Hand. Not very much to help out there as the opposing slot is already knocked out, but Rillaboom will deliver the finishing blow. And it's already interesting to see how mirror matches play, right? Because we saw slightly different approaches from both players here. Edgar brought the Champao, but Champao honestly did not contribute very much in this battle. And part of it is because of how Olivia was able to position in this game. Getting that Urshifu out with that Choice Scarf, with that Water Tear, and just threatening Champao for a knockout was a really big deal. So I think this matchup is just so interesting because if you position the Farograph well, it can provide so much value, but Edgar's Farograph just wasn't able to accomplish very much in that battle at all. And I thought Edgar actually started the battle really, really strongly by getting the knockout onto Olivia's Farograph, but a lot about this matchup is just positioning, and Olivia was willing to take that trade to get 3 switch-ins into both the Dragonite as well as the Urshifu. And it looks like her Urshifu is faster moving first multiple times throughout the course of that battle over Edgar's Urshifu.
Yeah, my thing is specifically with the Farograph, if we're going to see it, we have to see it coming out sooner because, of course, you want to make sure that you're shutting down that priority. You don't necessarily have to be leading it like Olivia did, but since Olivia did lead it, it kind of put Edgar in the position of, hey, I have to be taking this out, get rid of this threat. But leaving Farograph in the back, I mean, we got to see that Helping Hand at the very last turn of when, of course, it can't do anything. That's a Helping Hand that maybe could be helping out quite a bit more earlier on in the match. So I don't necessarily hate the bring of the Farograph. It's just it's that weird checkmate situation, and we need to see it play a little bit sooner. But beyond that, Qian Pao, we're saying it's no good. What do we want to see instead?
Yeah, it's really interesting the point you just made, Sarah, because I think if Frugraph comes in early for Edgar and then Olivia is able to knock out Frugraph early, if you have Dragonite in the back, then it gets completely unlocked, right? I think Dragonite's an awkward Pokemon in this matchup. Olivia managed to use it really well in that previous game, but I think I'd be so stressed about the mind game of, oh, do I actually click that extreme speed, right? Because, like, think how differently that last game would have played out if that Frugraph had switched in. But if you get the early knockout onto Frugraph, that opens the door for Dragonite. And for Edgar in that last game, I wonder how different things would have looked, actually, if he had that Dragonite in the back instead of Frugraph, right? Because Edgar actually did get the knockout onto Olivia's Frugraph in the beginning of the game. So many mind games, and I also feel like you feel compelled to bring Dragonite and or Rillaboom because otherwise Water Urshifu can kind of just clear through your team. So curious to see how both players adjust here. But no Frugraph from Edgar as the lead here.
No, instead going back to that Qian Pao, leading it next to the Rillaboom to be starting things out, going up against the Rillaboom over on Olivia's end, not leading with the Frugraph either. It will be that Rillaboom and Urshifu combination.
So it's such an interesting position once again because you do have fake out pressure on both sides, but of course Frugraph could switch in to block that fake out. I think the Urshifu here on Olivia's end is in kind of a weird spot where you, of course, could go for that Water Terra Surging Strikes onto Qian Pao again, but you might be more compelled to, like, U-turn out. I really like the lead from Edgar's end. I think there's actually a lot of pressure coming out from the opposing side, but you see Olivia considering that fake-out option, so a lot of mind games here, right? Like, do you expect a Frugraph switch in as Surging Strikes goes into Qian Pao? Like, if Qian Pao goes into Frugraph right now, you could just go for a Wood Hammer and knock out the Urshifu. That would be a quick knockout, and it would get rid of Olivia's Terra. So, once again, the mind game of does Frugraph switch in even with the knowledge that it might be potentially in the back.
It'll be so interesting too because of course it comes down to that game in that first game.
Oh, it's a switch, but it's the Rillaboom.
We'll have to see though if it's going to be coming in. No, it will be the Dragonite that's being brought to the battle, but it might be in lieu of the Frugraph as it does not hit the field. So it does mean that this Pokemon will eat up that Fake Out, which will be nice here as we see the translations come off for a very early Water Translation.
Huge credit to Olivia for just going for these priority moves, even with the threat of Frugraph. Yeah. I think she's made the right call in both games, and this is a huge turn one for her. Fake Out actually does pretty meaningful damage to Dragonite as well, and it's just going to be Surging Strikes onto the Qian Pao slot. We saw this get the knockout in the previous game, so let's see. Is there any chance Qian Pao survives here? I think probably not.
The first time around, it looked either or, but this time it looks like no chance as the Surging Strikes in the Qian Pao is going to be delivering 3 swift hits to be eliminating it from the field, making sure there's no threat of that Qian Pao Dragonite combo that can be quite feared out there.
So Edgar made the adjustment of the Dragonite, but we know that Olivia actually has the Frugraph in the back, and so that's what's so awkward about this, right? If you are Edgar right now, what move do you commit to? Because you don't know if Olivia actually brought that Frugraph in the back. And if you lock into extreme speed right now, like commit your Terra, go for normal Terra extreme speed, it's just such a bad position. So an amazing turn one by Olivia, and I think right now, this turn, she doesn't threaten with that much damage, and so you're gonna try to do your best to just get some positioning, but I think Frugraph Dragonite, this is a perfect time for a double free switch in right now. So from Edgar's end, does he potentially call it? If you lock into that extreme speed, it's gonna be an absolute disaster.
Especially to be in the choice band. If you lock into something, that requires a switch, and all of a sudden, if Olivia's bringing out this Frugraph, you can have a Dragonite that is useless and stuck out on the field. Of course, we got to see what that selection was, so it will, of course, be that double swap. Dragonite coming out, followed by that draft we keep talking about, that great friend Frugraph. The Armor Tail shutting off priority, hitting into Olivia's end. No priority coming out, though. It's going to be Wood Hammer going into the Dragonite slot, assumingly with a move from the Dragonite, the Aerial Ace, no priority, a significant chunk of damage.
Yeah, great call by Edgar to not go for that extreme speed, but Aerial Ace just doesn't really do that much damage. You can't even go for something like Grassy Glide from Rillaboom plus an Aerial Ace onto Dragonite right now. So the way that the damage was split was a little bit awkward. I think if there was full commitment into one slot, things would look differently. But now Olivia going for that Outrage option. Outrage really, really strong here, especially if you don't expect Heatran to be in the back and we can just potentially get a one-hit knockout here. So you know that the Aerial Ace is locked into the opposing side, and that's actually one key difference in this mirror match. There is Outrage on Olivia's Dragonite. There's no Outrage on Edgar's side, and this is a really, really good move. And so I really like the decision to commit to it right now, knowing that there's not really too much that can stop it other than a potential Heatran switch in, but would you really bring Heatran into this matchup when you're going up against Water Urshifu and Qian Pao, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you can see that the outrage is it's a little bit weird if one of the Pokemon resists or is immune to the hit, but of course this outrage can hit into anything and really be significant. Helping Hand, of course, gonna go before the Wood Hammers, so the Farigiraf is eliminated, but not before helping out the Dragonite just to do as much damage as possible. These outrage super boosted into the Rillaboom to be picking that up.
It's big that it targeted the Rillaboom slot there, honestly. I think you could see Edgar was really hoping that... Oh my goodness! Did so much damage, does not get the knockout though. But yeah, basically the idea there is it actually targets the Dragonite slot. Rillaboom and Urshifu in the back from Olivia's end don't necessarily beat the Rillaboom on the opposing side that quickly, and so it's a big deal to just get that knockout immediately. Now Urshifu comes out from the opposing side, and Rillaboom, I think, in a super good spot, where you pressure, of course, with fake outs. You can just go for fake out. We saw let Olivia's Dragonite move first, right? And so if it indeed is just faster, it gets another free outrage right now. And it's really awkward because Edgar cannot protect with either Pokemon. So it is the dream scenario for outrage where your opponent doesn't have something that resists it, just doesn't have something that's immune to it, and there's nothing that can protect against it either. So this is just Dragonite being so happy with outrage right now.
And of course, it's so awkward too with that fake out and the fact that this Dragonite was just living on the 2 HP because you have the priority moves selected like on your team, but you don't have the access to them with the fake out assumingly going into your Urshifu and the Dragonite being locked in. So there's no way to be taking care of this Dragonite before he'll be able to fire off a big attack. We will see finally a late game Terastallization coming out. This will be from the Dragonite.
Is there any chance let the Dragonite speed tie here? Because if Edgar's Dragonite does speed tie and it was slower, but it gets the Aerial Ace off here, this actually could look like a very different game. Let's see whose Dragonite moves first. Okay, it's Urshifu flinching. Oh, it's Olivia's outrage getting targeted into the Urshifu slot, and now I think it is going to be really difficult to come back. Dragonite's just playing a 1v3 at this point.
It will try and do what it can, though, firing off a big aerial ace, but not even quite being able to pick up this Rillaboom. So it was definitely a nice attempt, but this aerial ace, you don't have that priority. It's just not enough damage. It's come so close, but being kind of a lackluster move in a lot of scenarios be quite difficult. And of course, now it's just going to have to take this number of attacks, but really well done from Olivia here. That final outrage to be claiming the match in a nice, clean 2-0.
What's so fascinating, once again, is that both trainers had the exact same 6 Pokemon, but we're talking about speed going into this game, and I think Olivia's Dragonite being faster than Edgar's was such a big deal. Not only was it faster, it also had Outrage, and both of those had such a significant impact on this battle. So that's why I think Pokemon is such an interesting game. You can give both players the same 6 Pokemon, but there are very different approaches towards how you play it, and I think Olivia played basically a perfect game 2 here, starting from the lead, making an incredible call on turn 1, and just really figuring out how to position that Dragonite in and being willing to lock into that Outrage. You know, Outrage is an awkward move to use because you basically have one slot that's just fully committed for at least 2 turns, but in this matchup it made perfect sense, and it's just a dream matchup for Dragonite when you know that there aren't as many protects on the opposing side. For example, Dragonite, Urshifu, Farigiraf, and Rillaboom on Edgar's team don't have Protect.
Yeah, it definitely is just Dragonite's play around at that point. So it was a really, really nice move because it's not one that you see every Dragonite have, but it's really nice when you get to see it and it actually is able to just absolutely rain terror. So congratulations yet again to Olivia. That's definitely a nice way to be starting it out at your own Canadian regionals, getting a nice 2-0 on stream.
I think I'm really eager to see how this composition performs. We saw it finish second at the most recent European Regional Championships just last weekend. This is not a new concept. It's very actually similar to teams that did well in Regulation D, especially the team that finished second at the World Championships this year. But to me, the return of Dragonite in this format has been fascinating. Yeah. We have seen some really strong performances after it feels like it fell off a little bit in the previous format. And Dragonite looked amazing in that one. I mean, I would say Dragonite was easily the MVP of that second battle. And I think one big question that I have is how do players train their Dragonite in terms of speed investment? And also what moves do you run, right? Because that Outrage made such a big difference, but not everyone runs Outrage on Dragonite.
Well, even just showing that this being the 6 same Pokemon that got second at Lille, but all 3 teams being ran quite differently, and the fact that we got to see this mirror, quote unquote, but it actually was quite different in quite a few ways with how the Pokemon were trained and the moves. it's really quite interesting to see that trainers are kind of aligned with a similar, hey, these 6 Pokemon are good, but very core different ideas on how to be building them. And we got to see then Olivia's just being able to come out on top with a combination of how the Dragonite was trained and just a variety of Pokemon always outspeeding, despite the fact that this Farigiraf also has access to the Strict Room.
Yeah, I really want to talk about Farigiraf a little bit more because it is such an awkward Pokemon in this matchup. It could have completely turned the tides in Game 1 and Game 2. In Game 1, the turn that we were really emphasizing when Rillaboom and Champao got knocked out, if Champao switches into into the Farigiraf that turn, then the Rillaboom on the opposing side can get a knockout onto the Urshifu. And on turn 1 of Game 2, if Farigiraf were brought in the back and you switch Champao out into the Farigiraf, Rillaboom can then just Woodhammer into Urshifu. And I think those turns would completely turn how the game looks, right? But it's so awkward, and I think Olivia just has a lot of conviction, willing to make those priority calls, saying, I just don't think Farigiraf's going to come out right now. And I think in Game 2, you can probably feel even a little bit more confident in that because Edgar wasn't able to get any value out of Farigiraf in Game 1, right? So Olivia's probably thinking, I think it's likely you dropped it for that Dragonite. That's exactly what ended up happening. So huge kudos, because those are really difficult calls to make. And yeah, I can't stress how differently the game would look, I think, if Farigiraf had come out on both of those turns. But from Edgar's side, you know, it's a difficult call to make, especially in Game 2, right? Yeah. Do you really feel comfortable bringing Farigiraf after it just didn't do anything in the first game?
Sometimes you have to make the calls to get that win, right? So Olivia having the courage to be able to do that, and we'll have the opportunity to speak with her now over in our Halloween lounge.
Thanks, Sierra and Aaron. I am joined in our spooky lounge by our winner of the Swiss Round 3, Olivia Maletsky. Olivia, congratulations. What a great match to watch as our first match of the day.
Thank you so much.
I think it was really cool to see you out here being able to compete, representing Canada, but going up against a mirror match in this. When you sort of sit down and, you know, obviously you've done a bunch of prep before this, but so you should know the team in and out, but when you sit down and you see someone else running the same 6 Pokemon, how do you start prepping for that matchup?
So I had only started playing this team on Wednesday, and I had played the mirror once or twice, and I kind of identified that I really liked Farigiraf and Sheep together. And going into games off of that, I'm like, okay, he's either going to lead what I led, or maybe try to really do what she did.
Yeah, totally. And so like the Farigiraf seemed like it was a really key piece for this matchup. And in sort of Game 1, you had the opportunity to go for extreme speed, which you did, with the potential for Farigiraf to be kind of hiding in the back. So like when you know that there is that risk that you could just sort of waste a turn by having your priority move blocked, what goes through your mind? Like, do you just like not care about the Giraffe, or how are you feeling about that?
So Game 1, the way he played and the way he led, I'm like, it doesn't really seem like he might not have it in the back. So I play as if he didn't, and he ended up not having it.
Yeah. And of course, same thing happened in Game 2, where you had the opportunity to lead Fake Out with the potential for Farigiraf in the back, which it turned out that Edgar did have, but did not choose to bring in. Like when you're like, is it just sort of getting in your opponent's head to sort of say, oh, I don't think you're going to do it this time, or like what goes into those plans?
So sort of. What I ended up doing is I saw the lead on his end, and in my mind, he's like, he has such a commanding position over what I led. I'm like, he's definitely going to try and commit and get my Pokemon here. So I ended up just going for the Fake Out just by my road moving slower off the grassy terrain, and ended up getting a kill on Champao, which is probably the most important piece on his team at the time.
Yeah, the Champao did seem like a really good Pokemon for Edgar to bring, and each time you were able to just sort of snipe it with that Urshifu. Was that sort of the idea, that you just had to prioritize getting that Pokemon off the field no matter what?
Absolutely, because once I deal with the Champao, Dragonite's able to just start doing whatever it wants without really threat of dying.
Cool. Well, congratulations on taking this win in round 3. What does it mean to you to be able to be now 3-0? Obviously, there's still 6 more rounds of Pokemon left on the day, but here in Toronto, being undefeated so far, how does that feel?
It's really, really good because I've been playing for a few years now, and this is my home regional. Never been on stream before either, and it feels so nice to finally be on here, especially at home with all my friends in the back.
Well, I'm so happy we were able to give you that moment to be on stream, winning in your home regional. Would you like to shout out any of your friends who are out there supporting you, probably here in the stadium? I think I heard some cheers during that match as well, or back home.
Big shout outs to Ryan, Brian, Kylan, Nicholas Borgi, I did not forget you, Jeremy, Charlie, and anyone else I didn't mention. I love you guys so much.
All right, Olivia. Well, thank you so much for spending some time to talk with me. Congratulations on the big win in a mirror match, no less. I'm really excited to see how the rest of your tournament goes.
Thank you.
For everyone back at home, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have Swiss round 4, so stay tuned.
I'm your host, Anna Prosser, here in Yokohama for Pokemon World Championships 2023, and we're here in the Play Lounge. We're here with Judge Kaza to talk about first steps. What's first step?
ここは、ティーチングエリアです。カードゲームを最初にやる場所です。
If a player is just learning about Pokemon for the first time, what would you tell them when they come here?
まずは楽しんでくださいと。
What games can players learn here in the Play Lounge?
すべてのゲームできます。
Do they need to know anything before they come here, or can they start brand new?
Nothing. 初心者でも大丈夫です。
What is your favorite thing about the Play Lounge?
ティーチングが大好きです。
It looks like you're having a great time. We'll let you get back to it.
めっちゃ楽しいです。
ありがとうございます。
I'm so excited about this WCS in Japan.
And that's it from the Play Lounge. We'll be right back with more from the Pokemon World Championships.
The 2024 season off strong, and what an event this was. Coming from Worlds, we continued on in Regulation D with a chance for players to refine old teams or try and reinvent the wheel. A few players rode on winning wins with Brambleghast, and we even saw a couple Gastrodons still kicking around.
These yawns are getting contagious.
With an impressive undefeated run in day 1 of Swiss, Riley Factura continued that momentum through day 2 and looked nearly unstoppable headed into the finals. Standing in his way was the opponent who handed him one of the very few losses he took along the way, Wolf Glick, who was having a strong performance to start off the new season. A very close Game 1 came down to the wire, as Wolf managed to wait out Riley's Trick Room before ramping up on the offense and taking the first match. Game 2 started out with a huge KO, as Riley's Cresselia decided to go on the offensive, cooling Wolf's chances of taking the match in 2 with a huge Ice Beam to kick it off before cleaning up the match. In a roller coaster of a Game 3, things started turning in Riley's favor as he ran Wolf out of options to take the victory and put yet another regional championship title under his belt, as well as an invite to the World Championships in Honolulu.
Looks like this is going to be Riley Factura taking the first regional championships of the 2024 season.
Want your chance to prove you're the best? Check out Pokemon.com/compete and get in on the action.
What's up, Pokemon trainers, and welcome to the Pop-Up Pokemon Center here at the European International Championships at the XL London. Hey, Amandine, how's it going?
I'm just in a living dream today.
Yeah, I mean, check out all these amazing plushies. Which one's your favorite?
Probably the sleeping Flareon is just here. It's just so cute.
Oh, so cute. No way. All the Jumbo plush? You've got to be kidding me. We've got the Psyduck, the Slowpoke. Okay, that's my favorite. The Piplup and the Lucario. I mean, what more is there to want here? Oh.
Oh, hey, Rosemary. Didn't see you there. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Spraggles?
I'm doing amazing. I'm just enjoying Arcanine's beautiful hair and its volume.
I mean, you definitely know.
One day, I'll get there.
Oh, hey, Boo, how's it going?
Going pretty well. I'm looking at all these beautiful play mats.
They are pretty amazing.
Yep, all these super exclusive, just for EUIC international play mats.
I love that. The play mats are really cool. There's notebooks. There's kind of a lot here. How amazing is this? This is the Pokemon Center at EUIC. I'm gonna see you guys later because I'm about to go shopping. Welcome back, Pokemon trainers, to the 2024 Toronto Regional Championships here in, well, Toronto. No tricks there, only treats. It is a lovely crowd here today competing for their shot to qualify for the World Championships in Honolulu, Hawaii. And we have just finished up round 3 of Swiss for the video game championship side of things, and we are waiting for round 4 pairings. My name is Gabby Snyder. I'm joined here by Jake Muller, and I gotta say, you're looking pretty sharp today.
I was gonna tell you the same thing,
Yeah.
Gabby. Love your sweater.
I love your sweater too.
Thank
It just
you.
really brings out the color of your eyes.
It does, it does.
But no, it's been a really interesting day so far. We had one match on stream that was a mirror match, same 6 Pokemon, a couple of different moves and items across the 2 teams. But I would love to take this time while we're waiting for our next round to sort of dive deeper into the metagame as we have the official reveal of the top 12 Pokemon here in Toronto. And yeah, really no surprises for me, honestly.
No, Fluttermane back on top where she belongs, right over that 50% usage. So if you're playing someone, you flip a coin, they'll either have heads Fluttermane, tails no Fluttermane, about how that rolls here. But right behind Fluttermane is the Iron Hands and the Landorus Therian. Those have easily kind of become like the top 3 of this format. They're just so powerful in this Regulation E metagame. It's almost kind of like a triangle there too, because the Fluttermane should be the Iron Hands, but the Iron Hands can just heavy slam it right back. Landorus has the option to like Stomping Tantrum it, but then Iron Hands just like doesn't take damage from anything. I don't know.
I was trying to make like a rock, paper, scissors kind of comparison, but then I realized only Iron Hands has hands. So
Landorus has little paws.
Yeah, and I guess Landorus is a rock type, so
yeah, and then
there's your rock.
Fluttermane Fluttermane needs to get haircuts pretty often with all that like those long locks.
Yeah.
So she can have the scissors. I don't know.
There we go. There we go. We're making it work somehow.
There's a bunch of grass types up here as well, though. The Rillaboom that we just saw in our 3rd round, taking the number 4 slot in the day 1 usage, as well as the Ogerpon's. Interesting trend, though. The Ogerpon Wellspring Mask, the water type, is pretty considerably higher than the Hearthflame fire type.
You know, I personally like this adaptation a lot. We were talking about this earlier today. The Wellspring Mask Ogerpon tends to play a bit more defensively compared to the Hearthflame Ogerpon, as not only do you get the special defense boost when you terrestrialize and activate Embody aspect, you also get access to, well, I mean, technically you always have access to Follow Me, but Follow Me is a lot easier to play on the water type Ogerpon as opposed to some of the other types. And I think that given just how offensive the meta game is right now, I mean, I'm just trying to do some quick maths here, and I think 2 out of the 12 that I'm seeing are typically special attackers, which means 10 out of 12 for the other Pokemon are physical attackers. Maybe make that 3 and 9, because I forgot about the Tornadus, which Bleak Wind is a special attack. There's just so much physical power out in the metagame right now. Being able to redirect attacks away, being able to play a bit more defensively while still threatening the Ivy Cudgels, while still threatening big damage, I think is so important. And that's just an easier strategy, in my opinion, to play with Wellspring Ogerpon.
And given that there's so many physical attackers, it's also no surprise that there's 2 Intimidate Pokemon in this top 12.
Oh, 100%.
Kind of like we hinted on in the intro segment over in the lounge with Evan. The Landorus Therian and the Hisuian Arcanine, both in this top 12, attempting to kind of mitigate the damage from some physical attackers. But at the same time, a lot of the common physical attackers just like have ways to not care about Intimidate. Like Urshifu has its Surging Strikes and Wicked Blow, which ignores any attack drops. If Dragonite's running Inner Focus, it'll be ignoring those Intimidates as well. So one Pokemon not on this top 12, though we still see a lot, is King Gambit, which will not only ignore the Intimidate, but actually benefit from it from the Defiant. And so it is an important ability to have on your teams if you want to have the option to kind of slow down games, but at the same time, you still have to account for these physical Pokemon that just don't care.
Yeah, and if we want to take a look at our caster predictions as well, now I will say there was a gentle person's agreement here to not pick what we thought would be the top 12 Pokemon, and I think that we all were very successful in that part of the endeavor.
That's true.
But I do find it interesting just the variety of Pokemon that appear on here. I mean, going into Evan's predictions, we have the only special attacking Intimidate user with the Salamence. Sierra has the Light Screen and the Reflect user of Grimmsnarl with the Okidogi. I just put my Trick Room team in. You know, there's a lot of really unique options here, and I think that while you're not seeing any of these Pokemon on the top 12, I think we're seeing trainers pick and choose little bits of these caster picks into those top 12 to build their overall teams. Like, I mean, not to pick on your picks, Jake, but like Sinistra, I think is one of those Pokemon that is a bit more splashable, especially if you're looking for a defensive style of play. And then you have that Como-O as well, fresh off the Sacramento win.
I was certainly inspired by Sacramento. Both the Como and the Weezing had really good performances there. Specifically Como-O, like Aaron, I actually had Hisui and Gudra on my predictions for Sacramento as kind of like a Iron Defense body press, like bulky thing that's hard to take down and can eventually set up. But I had to change it after Sacramento because Como obviously put up such a strong performance. And I really like Sinistra. Like, I think Hospitality is a really good ability, especially if you're playing a more bulky game with the, Pokemon that aren't doing a whole lot of damage right off the bat. You're trying to extend games. Having the ability to switch in your Sinistra and just immediately heal your Pokemon for 25% is really nice. And I think you have the option to like Rage Powder. A lot of people build it like physically bulky with like a Rocky Helmet, which can help punish those physical attackers. And along the same lines, Weezing, what we saw a lot of a couple weeks ago as well with the Will-O-Wisp. Like that's kind of just its main thing, being bulky, being annoying with neutralizing gas, and surprisingly doing a lot of damage with Gunk Shot. That was something that shocked me every time it used it last weekend.
I know. I was able to tune in a little bit to the regionals last weekend, and I also found myself a bit surprised at just how the damage calculations were playing out. But, I mean, that's what you get when you are playing in such a physical metagame. I mean, going back to the previous match, we had 2 Farigiraf on stream.
Yeah.
Both of those Pokemon had Helping Hand, and I feel like, yes, you run Helping Hand to do more damage. Obviously, that's the purpose of the move, but it also kind of throws those damage calculations off. When you're preparing for a tournament, when you're sitting there with your calculator, a lot of trainers will know, like, okay, I will take this much damage from this attack, or I expect to do this much damage to this Pokemon. And Helping Hand kind of throws those calcs out the windows unless you prepared for that. So it's a great way to sort of catch people by surprise and just give yourself a little bit of an edge. And that's the same thing with Sinistra. If you have 125% of your health now to deal with, it really does change the game.
I think especially going back to Helping Hand too, in the match we just saw, Olivia did have the turn where she was able to go for the Helping Hand Outrage. And unless you're like a Fairy type, I don't think anything's taking that comfortably at all. From a Choice Band Dragonite, it's like you said, it's just a really good way to kind of throw those damage calcs in your favor. Even if you are going up against something like a Reflect, like an Intimidate, you can kind of bridge that gap between your like main damage output and like the reduced output your opponent might be expecting.
Yeah, I will say though, the Outrage play by Olivia in that round 3 on Swiss was such a it made me a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie.
You have to commit.
You have to very much commit to the Outrage, and especially knowing that I think her play was literally Helping Hand Outrage.
Yeah.
The one downside to that move is that you can't pick the target, and I think she did a fantastic job of recognizing that there were no bad targets on the field that turn.
When you're using Outrage, I think that's kind of what you have to recognize. Like a lot of times there are situations where if you use Outrage and it hits the right target, you probably just win the game, but if it's the wrong target, you probably just lose the game immediately. Like there are certainly situations where that exists. And so if you're running Outrage, deciding to actually select it on a turn involves a lot more than just what's going to happen this turn. You have to think a few turns ahead. And I think in Olivia's case, when we in that game, I think we were down to a point where no matter which slot it hit, it didn't really matter because it would be taking a KO, and you can kind of deal from there. You can play, reevaluate your game plan from there. And more importantly, like if there are 2 Pokemon on the field that can't protect, if there are 2 Pokemon that aren't Fairy type and can't Fairy Terra, like go for it. I don't know, a Choice Band Helping Hand Dragonite using Outrage, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. In situations like that, there's a much less of a potential drawback.
Well, Pokemon video game, Pokemon trading card game, Pokemon Go is not the only competition we have going on here this weekend.
Oh, that's great.
We have our lovely caster competition going on here. And these are two good friends of mine. That is DeFi E, Stephanie Christine. They're dressed up as Karen from Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver and Pokemon Crystal. She is the one who always plays with her favorites, if you've heard that quote. And of course, where would she be without her trusted partner Pokemon of that Umbreon, in this case, our good friend Alpha Phoebe, aka Nick. Shout outs to Nick, as every time I say quick maths now, it's only because of him. Because he said it once when I was casting with him in Go, and it just has stuck with me. So they're carving Pokemon, and I see
you got a Screamtail,
and I believe that's a Fuecoco. Yeah.
If you're a Pokemon Masters EX player like I am, you will recognize the you'll recognize the Karen and Umbreon combo as well. They're a pretty good sync pair over in that game. So we're bridging the gap between all of our Pokemon franchises here this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm so excited, Gabby, for these pumpkins. I know exactly what I want to do, and it's like not going to be simple, so I'm hoping I don't make a fool of myself, but it's fine.
So before Evan announced that there was going to be prizing involved.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a very competitive person, just between you and me and everybody else watching. And I was originally going to take one of the stencils and just be like, you know what? I'm going to carve this thing because it gives me joy.
Yeah.
And now that there's prizing involved, I am literally sketching out my pumpkin behind the desk during downtime.
I can confirm.
Jake can confirm. I don't want to show anybody because I don't want spoilers.
Here, let me sketch mine real quick.
Okay, so
there.
Wow.
I'm a really good artist, you guys. It's really good.
Always smile. But yeah, no, the kitty gloves are off.
Yeah,
the kitty gloves are off, and the kitty pumpkin carvers are in.
And the pumpkin carving tools are in our hands, and we're ready.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. You can make sure to tune in before Masters Finals tomorrow if you want to have your chance to vote to pick your favorite pumpkin and determine the prizing. I am told that we were not supposed to try and bribe y'all at home, but I feel like there's going to be a little bit of that involved anyways. So yeah, it'll be great.
I'll like tweet out my Venmo or something, and no, I'm kidding. I would never do that.
I was just gonna say I actually brought so Pokemon started selling like the little trick-or-treat packs of cards.
Yeah.
So I was able to luck out at my local game store and purchase several not boxes, but like packs of those.
Yeah.
So I actually have them, and I was gonna post tomorrow like, hey, if you find me, say trick-or-treat, I'll give you some cards. But I don't know. Now I might have to use those for a personal gain.
No, we could never. We could never. No.
Yeah, I'm a very competitive person, and on that note,
I mean, we're both former players turned casters. I think we have to be.
Are you gonna try and carve the genies of a healthy meta on your pumpkin?
Oh, shoot, I was gonna do something else, but maybe I should do that.
That might be too complicated. I don't know.
I think it would. I'm not that good an artist.
You have to risk reward it,
True, but like in that case, the risk is looking like a complete fool.
Yeah.
And my pumpkin just being like a mess.
The pumpkin just like collapses.
Oh no.
But anyways, we do have round 4 pairings up. We are not just stalling for time here.
Yeah.
We are, I believe we are going to be featuring Jamie Boyd versus Justin Tang. Oh, Jamie Boyd versus Justin Tang is our next round. Okay.
That's really fun. We talked about some players coming over from the other side of the Atlantic, and Jamie Boyd is one of them, one of our English friends. But known for a very, very creative team building style, which, having peeked at his team earlier, Gabby and I were talking about JB's team right before we came on camera. It's very exciting, and I'm so happy we get to feature it, especially against Justin Tang, who's been one of our popular players to watch for the last 8 or 9 months or so.
Yeah, the one thing that I really love about Jamie Boyd's teams as well is that they're always like so built to reflect his play style,
yes, they're very intentional.
His perspective of how to play Pokemon.
Yeah.
And like there was a period of time where I was actually trying to play his teams, and because I thought they were cool, all these unique Pokemon, maybe some strategies that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. And then I realized I just don't think the way that he thinks.
If I ever tried to use a Jamie Boyd team at a tournament, I would probably go like 0-4. I think if you're obviously Jamie has won multiple regionals in Europe, a very good player, very good team builder, but he's the kind of player and team builder that his teams work for him and like him only, because he plays the game in such a specific way that he knows how to use every tiny little piece, every move, every attack, every move and attack. Different things, same thing, whatever. Every attack, every item, every bit of training, every ability, like they all have a very specific purpose. And unless you are Jamie or get like a 6-hour crash course from Jamie, I don't think you could ever use one of his teams very well.
Yeah, and he did also just compete last weekend in Lille, so that is also going to be really exciting to see. I believe he day 2'd in Lille. I don't think he made top cut, but he was definitely up there in terms of points.
Yeah, I mean, not surprising at all.
Yeah.
Same goes for Justin Tang, like someone who, again, his first 3 regionals ever were top 16 win, kind of having a Riley Factor-esque season last year, but someone who, again, is capable of performing very well at any tournament they enter, and also has a pretty unique team. I believe we were also taking a peek at his earlier, and he's packing a Pelipper Salamence. So it's really cool to get to see these 2 really cool teams so early in this tournament.
Yeah, so it looks like our players have just seated down and they're going to get ready to get started. So we're just going to wait a little bit longer to get into the full details of that matchup. So while we are waiting, you know, it is great that we're going to see Salamence on stream. Like you mentioned, that was one of our caster picks. No fully dedicated Spam Trick Room teams yet. Waiting for it.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. How are you feeling about Weezing stocks right now?
I think they're pretty good. I know that Kyle Livinghouse, who did pretty well with that back in Sacramento, is also running it again. I know a few other people that are playing it. I also know that there's a Galarian Weezing with Misty Surge in the field, which is pretty cool.
All right.
Something that I think we've been missing in this format a lot is a terrain that isn't psychic terrain. So
or grassy.
looking to yes, you're right. Rillaboom exists. A terrain that isn't psychic or grassy, and a way to shut those off. So that's really cool. But obviously, the primary Weezing set that we're all kind of expecting to see is that neutralizing gas, whether it be the Cantonian or the Galarian, and it's doing pretty well. I expect someone like Kyle to perform well with it again. I know Colin Heyer is also running it, a player who we've seen at the top tables a lot. So I feel good about it. I think until I'm proven otherwise, I will feel fine at worst.
All right, well, we do have our notable matches from round 4 as well. So if you are watching along at home, do note that Brendan Zhang will be playing against Maddie Morgan this round. Paul Chua versus Rafael Bagheera. That is going to be a fantastic matchup. And Joshua Lorsey versus Marcus Dion. Marcus being one of our Canadian trainers to watch, and Joshua Lorsey being from the New England region, which I am inevitably biased towards.
Yes, Rafael, also a Canadian, a former finalist at the US Nationals in 2015, before we called it NAIC. So someone to watch as well. I know Rafa was really excited to get to play in a Canadian regional again. And of course, Marcus, like you said, one of our players to watch. Someone who's made it to day 2 or been at, like just at the cusp of day 2 of multiple regionals over the course of the last year. We've gotten to feature on stream a few times, so 3 really great matches.
And if memory serves correct, last time we saw him on stream, unless I missed him during the Sacramento weekend, which is highly possible, he was running 4 Illumise as his plush support squad. So definitely something to keep an eye out for as well if you're out in the hall. You know, check out those partner Pokemon plush hanging out on the tables, supporting their trainers any way they can.
Of course, it's the moral support, right? You got your team. You got your team in Scarlet and Violet, but sometimes you just gotta have a little extra morale boost with your little plush friends.
You know, I have to wonder if Sierra were to ever compete at a regional, like how much of the Piplup squad would actually make it?
Yeah, I think she said she brought 13 to this event.
I mean, they were all seated very nicely in her car.
That's true.
And I believe she did pack snacks for them, which is very important as well.
It is
because,
important.
You know, you got to take care of the squad.
How many of those do you think she could fit on her, like, table?
I don't know, but I want to see. Like, I especially want like her giant Piplup there, like behind her, like with like one of those camping chairs that you can pack up and just like set up and.
That would be so funny. Just watching over, maybe like sitting next to her backpack, making sure it doesn't get messed with or anything.
Exactly. I mean, every little bit counts. I mean, you always need like a Pokemon mom to help you out through the day, and for her, that's the Piplup.
Of course. Oh man, I love these tournaments so much, Gabby. It's so much fun. Like, both here as a player, like anytime I'm in the building for Pokemon, it's just a great time.
Yeah, it's there's going to be a lot of shenanigans, I think, this weekend.
Yes.
But like, this is why I think Pokemon is just a fantastic esport to be a part of. Like the fact that you can just kind of let loose and have fun like this is really important. You know, at the end of the day, this is a hobby for most of us. Yes, prizing is absolutely incredible this year. You know, not only does the winner winner of the tournament walk away with an invite to compete in Honolulu. They also walk away with a substantial cash prize that they can use to then fund said trip to Honolulu, said trip to other regionals, maybe an international championship. If you're curious about what exactly that number is, I have it for you right there on screen. Thank you very much. $6,000. I believe that is US dollars, by the way.
Yeah,
for first place, along with 72 booster packs, which is just an incredible prize to take home. And again, it just makes it so much easier to get to additional tournaments, to get to the World Championships, and then get to have fun and see your friends all around the world.
I think $6,000 might even be enough to like fund an entire season's worth of tournament travel as well.
I think if you get frugal with it, I think so, yeah.
I don't know. The pricing this year is increased from prior years, which is such a blessing because now the players have even more to play for. The money, again, kind of being secondary for a lot of people, but of course, if you enter a tournament hoping to have fun and you do well, some money's also nice.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want more money?
I mean, no one's going to say no, right? And we're not going to say no to the start of our next round here. This is round 4 of Swiss. Jamie Boyd versus Justin Tang. And let's take a look at these teams because they are a doozy. They are the tricks and the treats all in one. And Jamie, who's going to be on the left-hand side of your screen, is running a Roaring Moon, the Teal Mask Ogerpon, the signature Ogerpon from the DLC, Hisuian Arcanine, Urshifu Rapid Strike style, Thunderous Therian, and Golden Go. Yes, Thunderous Therian. That is correct. It's the one with the legs.
The one with the legs. That Thunderous is really cool. I think it's not really something we see a whole lot of, especially because in the past, if you were to run Thunderous, it was almost always going to be the incarnate form. And depending on the metagame, depending on the year, either with Prankster or Defiant, 2 really good abilities. But this time we see the Therian form, which has Bolt Absorb, which is handy when it faces any other electric types. But the Assault Vest, hoping to bulk it down a little bit more, it also gives Jamie the option to run the dual electric type moves. You have the classic Thunderbolt, and you have the Wild Bolt Storm, which is not something we see too often. It might even be the first of the new moves from the Forces of Nature that we've seen other than the Bleak Windstorm.
Yeah, on the opposite side of the field, Justin Tang is also running it's a Salamence, so give a few thousand years of evolution from the Roaring Moon and you'll get there, along with the Iron Hands, the Golden Go, the Iron Bundle, the Amoonguss, and a Pelipper, which is honestly a little bit reminiscent of what Gavin Michaels ran last year around the Oceania time frame, where he had that Pelipper and the oh my goodness. Palafin, thank you.
And Azumarill. He kind of switched between them.
He had his bulky water-type Pokemon, either the Palafin or the Azumarill, alongside of the Golden Go. You know, there's a lot of great synergy there, especially when you're running into so many fire-type Pokemon like the Hisuian Arcanine or like the Ogerpon with the Hourflame Mask.
And big credit to Evan, who predicted the Salamence. He was saying, you know, it's the only Intimidate Pokemon that can use special attacks. That's exactly what we're seeing here. We have the Draco Meteor, Hurricane, Air Slash attacks coming out from the Salamence, as well as a really fast Tailwind. So it's not a Prankster Tailwind, but it's fast. And so if you get that fast Tailwind, especially next to something like that Golden Go with a nasty plot, that could come in very handy.
Yeah, it's also really interesting to see a Choice Scarf on that Salamence in particular. I mean, you definitely need it in order to be able to outspeed a majority of the metagame. Fluttermane in particular seems like one Pokemon that Salamence would have to be very careful around without it. But still, if you do opt to go for the Choice Scarf Tailwind turn 1, that does mean that you're pretty much forced to switch turn 2. And with the Iron Hands and with the Amoonguss in the back of Justin's party, I feel like that does give you a decent amount of maneuverability with those Pokemon.
For sure. I think especially the Golden Go is kind of the main thing on Justin's team that benefits from that Tailwind.
Yeah.
That is the Leftovers Nasty Plot set, kind of the bulkier set that we saw towards the middle of last year. That typically has been kind of pushed aside for more offensive sets in recent weeks, but Justin opting back for that with the Terra Dragon defensive typing. A really cool adaptation that lets it take on all of the Urshifus, all of the Ogerpons very well. I also just really want to talk about the Ogerpon on Jamie's side. Like,
yes,
this is
please, yes.
That is not a typo. It is not the wrong sprite. It is the Tail Mask, the base form Ogerpon, the Solo Grass type, holding the Razor Claw, so hoping to take advantage of the boosted critical hit rate from Ivy Cudgel. I believe with the boosted rate and holding the Razor Claw, it's a 50% chance to get a critical hit every time you use Ivy Cudgel.
I believe that is correct as well. And in case people at home are curious, the really unique thing about Ogerpon in the teal mask form is that because it's always just holding that teal mask, it can hold a gold item alongside of it. Whereas if you opt for Wellspring, Hearthflame, or Cornerstone,
either with Prankster or Defiant, two really good abilities. But this time we see the Therian form, which has Bolt Absorb, which is handy when it faces any other electric types. But the Assault Vest, hoping to bulk it down a little bit more, it also gives Jamie the option to run the dual electric type moves. You have the classic Thunderbolt, and you have the Wild Bolt Storm, which is not something we see.
Chance to hit a crit with Ivy Cudgel, and just knowing how powerful Ivy Cudgel is, and then also having the Defiant ability on top of that to benefit from any stat drops that may come through, it makes Ogerpon very, very scary.
Especially when you factor in Swords Dance, which Jamie is also running. He's got Ivy Cudgel, Stomping Tantrum for some coverage, Swords Dance, and Spiky Shield. And on top of that, when you Terastallize a Teal Mask Ogerpon, Embody Aspect boosts your speed, which, you know, if you have a Swords Dance up, you get a +1 speed boost on demand. That could be very, very scary.
All right, well, turn number one. This is Jamie Boy versus Justin Tang, round 4 of Swiss. We're starting things off with 2 Golden Go on the field, alongside of an Iron Hands and Roaring Moon using Photosynthesis to boost its speed by 1 stage.
That's a really nice speed boost there. You've got the option to go for something like a Protect, or a Tailwind rather, before anything else can attack. The speed boost not necessary for the Roaring Moon right now, just because Golden Go and Iron Hands are naturally quite slow, especially slower than Roaring Moon. But Roaring Moon does have some nice options here with the Knockoff, which is a new toy it got in the Teal Mask DLC. It did not have access to that move before, and now it has the option to knock off the Leftovers or the Assault Vest from the 2 Pokemon on Justin's side, which could come in very handy later on.
Yeah, especially getting rid of an item on Iron Hands. In this case, it will be the Assault Vest on Justin Tang's side of the field. You're essentially removing a bulk of its defenses at that point in time. Instead, though, starting things off with a very fast Breaking Swipe, which will drop the attack of that Iron Hands and Golden Go by 1 stage each. Shadow Ball, though, undeterred by that attack drop, will hit the Golden Go. It's super effective, but Golden Go able to hold on just long enough to get a nasty plot in to boost its special attack by 2 stages, but Iron Hands not gonna let that stick, doubling straight into that Golden Go for the KO.
Justin seeing through that very well, says that, you know, even if Breaking Swipe comes through, a Shadow Ball in combination with Wild Charge should be able to knock out this Golden Go. And the Golden Go on Jamie's side was actually pretty well positioned to go for a nasty plot there, as long as Shadow Ball didn't come out from Justin's Golden Go. Obviously it did, so it didn't pay off very well, but if anything else happened that turn, say a nasty plot, possible switch out from the Golden Go, that would have been a very, very powerful nasty plot that Jamie got off there, especially considering the Life Orb, and especially considering you have the option to Tailwind on the following turn. So I really like that play from Jamie, kind of going for a very aggressive nasty plot in the face of a Golden Go that could possibly Shadow Ball you. I think if you're Justin, that's a nice play too, because Knockoff is a big threat, but from a more supportive Roaring Moon might not be enough for a win at KO, so you kind of make sure that no nasty plot goes off there unpunished.
Yeah, and we've seen so many Golden Go get those nasty plot boosts and then go ahead to just kind of roll through the competition.
Right.
So it's a little bit greedy, I think, to go for it turn 1, but if it had paid off, I think it, like you were saying, it would have just been a huge threat for Justin to have to pivot with. And now that Jamie started out game 1 that way, if we get into a game 2 or a game 3 situation, there's always going to be the threat of that nasty plot looming in the back of Justin Tang's mind.
Speaking of nasty plots, Justin's also is running nasty plot, and this might not be the best situation for it, facing down a Knockoff and a Flare Blitz, but it's something that Justin now has the option to do. Again, the Golden Go on Jamie's side is gone, so that's a Steel Resist out of the way. I think a lot of times if you're running Golden Go, getting rid of Steel Resist so you can make it rain freely is a big deal, and so that's not only a Pokemon advantage, but a really nice setup for the Golden Go on Justin's side after that first turn.
Yeah, Justin could easily even switch out that Golden Go this turn and then save it for the end of the game when it could come in and make it rain for the win, but instead it's that Iron Hands that's going to switch out into the Amoonguss. One of the least popular grass-type Pokemon now, believe it or not.
That's so wild to say, too.
I know. It's one of those Pokemon that you always have to remember, given that it brings the threat of Spore every single game. But in this case, just going to take some damage from a Breaking Swipe. These attack drops will not make much of a difference, as both these Pokemon are special attackers on the field right now. And then Flare Blitz into the Protect on the Golden Go.
I think that's a respectable Flare Blitz. The double breaking swipe means that the Iron Hands would have been at -2, even a super effective Drain Punch into either of these Pokemon wouldn't have done a whole lot of damage. And now the Arcanine being locked into Flare Blitz means that if Justin wants either the Golden Go or the Amoonguss to survive a Flare Blitz, he has to Terastallize one of them, or swap them out. But like, the Iron Hands won't enjoy taking a Choice Band Flare Blitz on the switch, and so you have to be really careful this turn. I do really like the Amoonguss swap there because I think the Golden Go commanded a lot more attention. And so if you're going to be Flare Blitzing one slot, it's probably that one. Amoonguss comes in for free, and now if you Terastallize the Amoonguss, for example, you can start redirecting those Fire-type moves.
Yeah, the one downside, though, about the swap here into the Thunderous Therian is that it leaves Jamie vulnerable to a Spore from this Amoonguss, but it is just going for that Rage Powder. So no attacks being thrown by Jamie this turn. It will not be taking any damage, but that also means Golden Go is more than free to go for the Nasty Plot to get that +2 special attack boost and now start throwing Make It Rain or Shadow Ball, really, to threaten some big damage down on both these Pokemon.
Amoonguss not, either of them really not Terastallizing there is massive for Justin because he essentially kind of called Jamie's bluff. Like, if you want to Flare Blitz on Amoonguss slot, you're going to take a lot of damage in recoil and potentially, you know, get your Arcanine into a slot where any attack can knock it out. But now that Amoonguss isn't Terastallized, it is not a Water type, it is the Water type Terra on Amoonguss. And now it can redirect Electric type attacks from the Thunderous much better. That was a really big non-Terra from Justin on that turn because now he still has that tool at his disposal, possibly this coming turn, but more importantly, this Thunderous doesn't have the option to just Wild Bull Storm and get a lot of damage onto Amoonguss and Golden Go at the same time.
Justin has selected Golden Go as the Pokemon to Terastallize in this game 1 of this set. And like its predecessors from the previous weekends, we do see the Dragon typing there. Knockoff will remove the leftovers held item, but it will not be doing super effective damage, and Make It Rain, bringing that Roaring Moon down into the red. Thunderbolt's following up with a Thunderbolt. It's not very effective to that Dragon typing, and Spore will be putting that Thunderous Therian form to sleep.
So speaking of having Terra at your disposal still, that is a massive turn for Justin once again, because Golden Go, you can tell, easily would have been knocked out by a combination of Knockoff and Thunderbolt if it hadn't Terastallized. And Amoonguss not really fearing anything from the Roaring Moon or the Thunderous right off the bat, just able to go for a Spore into the one slot that can't protect. So Thunderous now goes to sleep. The Dragon-type Golden Go is set up well to continue throwing out these Make It Rains, although it does still have to worry about the breaking swipe now.
Arcanine taking the field for the Thunderous. So interestingly enough, opting to swap out that turn instead of letting it burn its one turn of mandatory sweep. Breaking Swipe will do enough damage to pick up the KO on that Golden Go, but does leave both of Jamie's Pokemon here vulnerable to a Spore from the Amoonguss. And if Justin was able to predict that switch, or otherwise, I think even just play it very safe, you just target the Spore into that Roaring Moon. It can no longer go for those attack drops prior to Justin's Pokemon attacking. And now it seems like Iron Hands, or in this case, the Iron Bundle, is perfectly suited to take the field to get those KOs. And Justin looks like he's on his way to a win in this game number 1.
I think he's about 80% of his way to a win, because you do have to hit a Hydro Pump here to knock out this Arcanine, unfortunately. And it's known for not being the most accurate of moves. However, it's still a really good spot for Justin to be in. The Roaring Moon going to sleep means that Tailwind is off the field, or off the table for this coming turn. It will have to take at least one mandatory turn of sleep, which will be this coming turn if it stays on the field. And more importantly, this Arcanine is now facing down the Iron Bundle, which has a powerful Water-type attack. However, not wanting to be knocked out by one Hydro Pump will be Terastallizing.
Yeah, Jamie saving his Terastallization until the end game, opting to Terastallize that Arcanine into the Fairy type. A great defensive Terra here, as it will no longer be taking super effective damage, but that Iron Bundle didn't even target it down. Instead, opting to freeze dry the Roaring Moon for the knockout here. Arcanine next to attack will go for a Rock Slide. This will do some great damage to the Iron Bundle, but also bring with it a chance of a flinch. We see the crit. Will the Amoonguss be able to attack this turn?
This could be big.
It will first consume that Citrus Berry, so I think without the crit, Rock Slide still might miss a knockout, but it looks like this Arcanine will not have a chance to even go for it next turn, as Spore is able to connect.
If that had flinched the Amoonguss, that could have been Jamie's way back into this match. Really smart targeting there from Justin, knowing that the Roaring Moon could not protect because it was asleep, would be knocked out by a Freeze Dry, or would probably also knock out the Thunderous in the back that is holding the Assault Vest, but still a flying type and weak to that Freeze Dry. On a team like this, the Iron Bundle probably trained to be a bit more offensive because it is going to be taking advantage of the rain with the Hydro Pump. So Freeze Dry, a big threat there on either slot. And now that the Thunderous cannot Terastallize, Actually, it is just flying anyway, so couldn't dodge the freeze dry damage. But now the Arcanine has also taken up the Terra, so you can't use Terra Blast on the Thundurus anymore. And you still have the Iron Hands in the back to deal with, so Jamie looking like you might be seeing the writing on the wall here for this first game.
Yeah, I do like how you called out, though, that the Thundurus Therian form is that flying terrestrialization. You know, we saw that on the team preview slide earlier on in the match, but I think it's a really interesting indication of just how Jamie, you know, built this Pokemon into the team. It does feel like this Thundurus Therian is trying to take the highlights from the Landorus Therian in particular, with that flying typing, getting the Terra Blast boost with that as well. In this particular matchup, it did not make as much of a difference. A great use of the Assault Vest to be able to take that freeze dry, and that's really good information for Jamie moving forwards if he didn't realize that already.
Right.
But, you know, unfortunately, your Pokemon are still asleep. There was no wake up that turn from the Thundurus. I'm assuming that's what Jamie was trying to look for there. And it looks like he just locked in the forfeit. So Justin Tang takes game 1.
Justin Tang takes a very well-played game 1. I think at every turn there, Justin was making decisions that was furthering his game plan, while at the same time, like, limiting Jamie's options really severely, especially with when he chose not to terrestrialize the Mungus, and then when he chose to terrestrialize the Golden Go into the Dragon type. I think just really managing his resources very well. Interestingly enough, we saw the low damage from the Freeze Dry into the Thundurus on that second to last turn, and earlier in the game, we saw the Golden Go on Justin's side outspeed the Thundurus on Jamie's end. So that probably tells you that Thundurus is just trained to make most use of that Assault Vest, be very, very bulky, not necessarily as fast and slower than that fast Nasty Plot Golden Go on Justin's end.
Yeah, and going back through the replay of that game 1, number 1 as well, like, the Golden Go being able to get that Nasty Plot, being able to use Make It Rain, that one turn it was able to get that combination was just so important there. Like, yes, it only really attacked that one turn, but overall it was able to do the damage it needed to do. It was able to put Jamie's Pokemon in a position where they were threatened by a subsequent knockout, and also just open the door for that Amoonguss to go for Spore. You know, I think that's something that people are having a little bit more trouble managing right now, because yes, while you do typically have a grass Pokemon on your team, it's 9 times out of 10 it is an Ogerpon or a Rillaboom rather than the Amoonguss, like we saw on the usage stats, and that means that you're probably not going to have a great answer for Spore, and if you're able to get that positioning like we saw from Justin, it just makes your win conditions so much easier to lock in.
I think that kind of the two ways you can run Nasty Plot Golden Go is try to set it up for a sweep in the end, or use it to set up other things.
Yeah,
and you were hinting at that, Gabby. That's the second way is how Justin used it in that first game. You got that one Nasty Plot off, and you got that one big Make It Rain off, neither of the Pokemon that took it were KO'd. The Thundurus took a little under half. Roaring Moon was almost KO'd, but barely hung on under that 25% threshold there. But more importantly, just set up those two later on. So a single Freeze Dry knocked out Roaring Moon, one Freeze Dry plus anything else KO'd the Thundurus, and that really set up Justin for the rest of the game, because I think especially looking at Jamie's team, the Roaring Moon is kind of the way that Jamie has to control games between the Tailwind, the Breaking Swipe, and the Knockoff. Those are all really potent moves, both for damage and for utility, and getting it so low early on means that it didn't have as much room to go.
Well, we see a pivot from both these trainers going into game number 2. Jamie Boyd leading the Hisuian Arcanine and Golden Go against Justin Tang's Iron Hands and the Salamence. So while we do see Intimidates going off across the field, interestingly enough, no Roaring Moon from Jamie means that this Arcanine could just go for damage, or more likely is about to switch out.
The Thundurus on Jamie's side is like, these are kind of the two things it really wants to be sitting out on the field against. It won't take any damage from Wild Charge thanks to Volt Absorb. It resists the Drain Punch and the Heavy Slam. And the Assault Vest means that it will not take much damage from the Salamence either. So really well-positioned Thundurus if it is to come in here, especially considering the Golden Go on Justin's side. Something else it can sit in front of pretty well. And more importantly, Jamie's Golden Go set up for a pretty good Nasty Plot this coming turn.
Yeah, Justin making a fantastic switch there, getting Golden Go on the field just as Jamie Boyd swaps out his Hisuian Arcanine into that Thundurus Therian, but we're not done yet, trainers. The Amoonguss is also going to be switching in for Justin Tang, so possibly looking to make a run back of his strategy in game
my
number one, but that must have been not a critical hit on that Amoonguss. That Make It Rain does so much damage to that Pokemon. Will proc the Citrus Berry almost immediately and put that Amoonguss within knockout range of a 2-hit knockout, which I think is so important because now that the Amoonguss could be knocked out by a Make It Rain plus an attack from that Thunderous Therian, you don't have to worry about Spore as much anymore.
Well, and now we also see there is no Iron Bundle on Justin's side. We've seen all 4 of Justin's Pokemon, the Amoonguss, Golden Go on the field, and the Iron Hand Salamence in the back, which means Thunderous is very well positioned for Jamie. Those are kind of the 4 things on Justin's side would want to see the most. Even the Pelipper would be totally fine for it. Really, just the Iron Bundle gives it trouble with that fast Ice-type moves. But now it has the Assault Vest into these Golden Go, and the Amoonguss is low enough that it actually has to swap out here. So Thunderous could make a really big impact in the next coming 2 turns.
Yeah, that Regenerator ability, though, will mean that when Amoonguss makes a return to the field, it will have some of its health right back. Iron Hand's taking its spot and taking some damage immediately from a Wild Bolt Storm, the signature move that Thunderous learned from...
Some damage.
Some damage from Legends Arceus, followed up with a Make It Rain again from the Golden Go on Jamie's side of the field.
The nice part about the Life Orb Golden Go is that you do have the Nasty Plot. You can try and set yourself up for some big damage later on. But if you're Jamie, you can also just go straight for huge damage, which we saw into the Amoonguss. Hopefully, he's probably hoping the combination of Wild Bolt Storm and Make It Rain would either KO or bring the Golden Go and JS Justin's side very low. Now, unfortunately, Jamie's Golden Go is at -2. It is facing down something that could probably KO it with a Shadow Ball in the form of Justin's Golden Go. So might be seeing that swap out here just to reposition itself for later on. But again, this Thunderous looking really strong here because it is able to resist pretty much everything that can be thrown its way.
Yeah, it can't take any damage from electric type attacks thanks to Volt Absorb, and it will be resisting and also having that Assault Vest as well for any special attacks coming through from that Golden Go. But no attacks coming through from it this turn. Fake Out plus Nasty Plot from Justin will ensure that the Golden Go is all set up and ready to go now that Roaring Moon is out on the field.
Roaring Moon's a nice switch here. You have the option to knock off, which will threaten big damage in the Golden Go unless it Terastallizes. You have the option for Breaking Swipe, which will prevent a lot of damage coming out from that Iron Hands. And now that this Golden Go is at +2 special attack, you have to wonder whether Justin's going to focus more on bringing back that Amoonguss, protecting it from a knockoff, maybe Terastallizing it to mitigate damage from knockoff or an electric type move from Thunderous. We saw Jamie getting some big damage out first, but now this Golden Go on Justin's side is pretty healthy. It's got those leftovers, keeping it even more healthy, and more importantly, is at +2 special attack without a real threat of being KO'd if it opts to Terastallize.
Yeah, I think honestly, given the position that Justin is in this turn, I feel like it's going to be very simple for him to just go on the offense with that Golden Go. When he's ready, he has Protect available to him, and with the Salamence switching in as well, this could be an attempt to try and get some speed control in favor of this Golden Go long turn. We see the first Protect from Roaring Moon and a follow-up Protect from Justin on that Golden Go, but this Thunderbolt, had it targeted that Salamence, would have done some great damage, but instead will just go into the Protect.
I respect the Thunderbolt, especially because I think with the spread damage reduction, it probably does more single target than Wild Bolt Storm, and more importantly, cannot miss. Wild Bolt Storm, I can't say that. Oh my gosh.
It's a trick.
It's a trick. I got tricked. It has a nasty little mischance there, so wanting to get some guaranteed damage in Golden Go makes sense. Salamence coming in here is holding the Choice Scarf, so is naturally going to be faster than that Thunderous. However, the Roaring Moon does have its booster energy, Photosynthesis Speed Boost, so it should still be able to outspeed the Salamence on Justin's end and go for something like a Tailwind or a Breaking Swipe if it wants to.
Well, what it wants to do this turn is Terastallize into that Dragon typing once again. Honestly, this whole board position is very reminiscent of what we saw in game number 1, so it is no surprise that that Golden Go wants to drop its Dark type weakness in favor of its Dragon type resistance. We see the first Tailwind come through from the Roaring Moon, but it's actually a Draco Meteor that just misses the KO on that Roaring Moon by 1 HP. Wild Bolt Storm will not connect with that Salamence. It's not very effective against that Dragon type Golden Go, who now fires back a +2 boosted special attack Shadow Ball into the Assault Vest. Thunderous to just miss a knockout there as well.
Jamie's Pokemon are so clutch this turn. Those are two huge survivals because now, even though you missed the Wild Bolt Storm on the Salamence, I said it right. You still have the option to threaten it with some big electric type moves this coming turn. And the Roaring Moon hanging on is massive for Jamie because now he threatens a breaking swipe onto both of these Pokemon. Is intimidated, so won't be doing a whole lot of damage, but it is so much more than nothing, obviously, and it's really valuable to just have this still piece still at your disposal there. So Jamie, playing with a full deck still, is just an opts to switch out this Salamence.
Yeah, Salamence could have gone for another Draco Meteor there, but it would have been slower than the Pokemon on Jamie's side of the field, and it also would have had the attack debuff from the previous Draco Meteor. So swapping out so it can come back, maybe go for a different attack when it comes in next. Knockoff will remove the Assault Vest from that Iron Hands, followed up with a resisted Electrical Thunderbolt into that Pokemon. But without the Assault Vest, it actually does some good damage there. And now, once again, you have to contend with the threat of the breaking swipe from that Roaring Moon.
A really smart play from Jamie. I think protecting Golden Go there is kind of the easy play for Justin. 1 to stall out Tailwind, 2 to kind of reposition and give yourself the option for fake out here. So going for a knockoff Thunderbolt there probably KOs the Salamence, and more importantly drops the Assault Vest off the Iron Hands. Gets some a little bit more chip damage on it, but if you're fighting an Iron Hands, any chip damage is valuable. And now just trying to make as much use of the Tailwind he has, as I believe he still has 2 more turns of it. Fake out from Iron Hands should be able to help stall out a little bit more and probably KOs either thing on the field if we're looking at Jamie's 2 Pokemon right now. But again, having the option to do these things is so much better than having lost either of these Pokemon in the prior turn.
Exactly, and even without the Tailwind on the field, I believe the Roaring Moon still has access to the speed boost from Photosynthesis as well. So it will be the fastest Pokemon around for a while, which is exactly why it protects from the fake out on the Iron Hands. Grass Knot will not KO the Iron Hands either, but Golden Go, recognizing a passive turn when it sees one, goes for another nasty plot. This Pokemon is such a threat right now.
I like that a lot. Faking out the Roaring Moon means that the one thing that can damage Golden Go in the form of the breaking swipe is guaranteed to not happen. You get some nice damage on Iron Hands there now that it's in that low of an HP. It might get knocked out by a breaking swipe, and more importantly, you free up the Golden Go because anything the Thunderous throws at it probably doesn't do too much damage. You get another nasty plot off here, and I believe it's at +4 now, which means that it has the option to KO pretty much anything at once.
Yes.
If you're a +4 Golden Go, like nothing really wants to be sitting in front of that, especially when you're at such low HP as the Thunderous and the Roaring Moon. So a really smart turn from Justin there, kind of forcing Jamie's hand. You really don't want to be using Protect on Tailwind turns, but it does work out here because you preserve the Roaring Moon for this last turn.
Yeah, and it's a difficult decision for Jamie to make as well because he can't necessarily Terrastalize to get the benefit of damage on the Terra Blast, knowing that his Pokemon has such low health. And really you're forced to just wait, I think, until your opponent knocks out your own Pokemon to pivot things around. But instead, we actually do see the Golden Go on Jamie's side of the field take the place of the Roaring Moon and therefore take it, make it rain. But because of all those boosts from the Nasty Plot, that brings Golden Go down straight into the red. And depending on what attack this Iron Hand's locked into, it's very possible that we're going to be seeing a double knockout this turn. But Drain Punch doesn't connect with a Ghost-type Pokemon. It does not affect it, and therefore Golden Go is able to stick around for one more turn.
It sticks around one more turn, which is actually massive for Jamie, because if Jamie opts to bring in the Roaring Moon, it should be able to outspeed both the Iron Hands and the Golden Go. Could be able to set up a Tailwind, which will be really important, making sure your own Golden Go outspeeds Justin's, and more importantly, that potentially that Choice Scarf Salamence in the back. And since we have the Life Orb on the Golden Go, and the Golden Go at Justin's side is no longer Steel type, Life Orb Make It Rain KOs Iron Hands for sure, especially without the Assault Vest. It should KO this Golden Go on Justin's side with the Life Orb. And so you've set yourself up to be actually in a much stronger offensive position. The Golden Go should be able to fire off 2 attacks before its Life Orb knocks itself out. It'll go down to, I believe, 4 HP after 1 Life Orb attack. And switching in on that Drain Punch was so good, because that's the most, that's probably what the Iron is doing there, right? Like, it's best option into both those Pokemon. And so you get this swatch in the Golden Go. You have the option of a Tailwind on this coming turn, which is going to be really big.
Its best option to maximize its utility at this point is to swap out so it can bring Fake Out back later, and Amoonguss is the Pokemon to take its place. Here comes that Make It Rain, and it is enough to knock out the Golden Go before it is able to utilize all of those special attack boosts. Amoonguss as well takes a good chunk of damage from that Life Orb boosted attack, and because it already consumed its Citrus Berry earlier on in the game, will not have the opportunity opportunity to consume it again. But Justin Tang sending in that Choice Scarf. Salamence now will have the opportunity to lock into a move and potentially even switch out after that. Jamie's Pokemon are at such low health. We know there's the Arcanine in the back. We know the Arcanine is holding a Choice Band. I'm wondering what his out is here, because I think he's going to have to pick an attack and just hope he can get 3 KOs.
Well, they're at such low health, but Golden Go, one more Life Orb Make It Rain is going to be really impactful here, especially because you also have the option to go for a Breaking Swipe or Knockoff to supplement that. And if you do, even if you opt to protect the Roaring Moon this turn, you have 2 more turns of Tailwind following. You can knock yourself out with the Make It Rain if you need to, and get yourself that free swap into the Arcanine, and then try and win the game from there. The Salamence cannot protect itself, Iron Hands cannot protect itself, and there's no more Terrestrialization available for Justin. So actually, Jamie put himself in a really strong offensive position here.
He did. Iron Hands maybe knocked out. Air Slash, for a second, thought it wasn't going to connect with its target because of accuracy, but instead did target the protecting Roaring Moon. We see Make It Rain lock in that KO against the Iron Hands, but that was by design. I think Justin made the choice there that his Amoonguss with another Regenerator boost was more valuable to his endgame overall than that Iron Hands and the Fake Out. So making that switch there, committing that the Amoonguss and the Salamence would be the final Pokemon standing for him, and also revealing that he opted to lock into Air Slash, which is, I think, a bit of a high-risk, high-reward play. Certainly does have more longevity against the Draco Meteor and the Hurricane options that he has otherwise, and I don't think you'd go for Tailwind at this point in the game because you just need to deal damage, of course. But will this Arcanine be able to shut that down is the big question.
Especially, I don't know, the Salamence is holding a Choice Scarf. We've seen it be faster than both the Golden Go and the Thundurus on Jamie's side of the field, even with Tailwind up, which is really good info for both players. Jamie possibly opting to go a little bit bulkier with his Pokemon, maybe having not considered Choice Scarf Salamence to be a big meta threat. So coming in handy for Justin here, but Tailwind still up means that Breaking Swipe will come out first, almost KO this Salamence, but hopefully put it in range for something like a Rock Slide.
Yeah, I also saw Jamie contemplate going for the knockoff there as well to remove the Choice Scarf, and thanks to how speed works on the field, that would have immediately recalculated to ensure that the Arcanine was faster. But because the Arcanine was not the target of the Air Slash, it is able to go for the KO into that Salamence. But now we're in a very unique endgame as the Amoonguss is still on the field. It did go for Spore into this Arcanine, and now we'll have, I would say, 3 turns on average to figure out how do I get this knockout. Its only attacking move is Pollen Puff, and I believe that will be resisted by this Arcanine. So I think you need 3 critical hits, and it's not
more.
Urshifu Rapid Strike. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle for the end game for sure. Okay, way more than 3 critical hits.
I think that's a really smart Flare Blitz lock from Jamie there. The Salamence is really the only thing that is left that can deal big damage. And so by going for the Breaking Swipe and the Flare Blitz, you guarantee a KO into that slot. You don't leave yourself open to missing a bunch of Rock Slides, which at that point is kind of Jamie's only lose condition in that game. So a really smart Flare Blitz lock, knowing that, again, Amoonguss only carries Pollen Puff on this set, and it's going to be dealing paltry damage to that Arcanine. So even if Arcanine stayed asleep for the maximum 3 turns, even if it got critical hit all 3 of those turns, I think it probably still stuck around, and a Choice Bend Flare Blitz is able to dispatch Amoonguss eventually once it wakes up. So a really, really well-played game from Jamie there. It was really great to see him kind of lose a lot of resources up front in the form of HP. A lot of his Pokemon lost a lot of HP at the beginning of that game, but this crucial turn where Salamence survived the Draco Meteor with 1 HP and the Thundurus hung onto a Shadow Ball, Jamie pretty excited about that one too. But giving himself the option to go for this late game Tailwind with the Roaring Moon after he brought it back in against 2 things that were slower than it, so he still set up Tailwind without the booster energy boost. It's a really well managed use of Jamie's resources there.
Yeah, you could see just what exactly Jamie needed for his win condition, because after he was able to get that Tailwind up, after he was able to position his Golden Go so that he could go straight for the Make It Rains, I don't think the health necessarily mattered on his side of the field, which was really key to keep in mind. The downside to that strategy, though, is that he's not guaranteed to survive the Draco Meteor a second time around.
Right.
He's not able to guarantee holding on through another Make It Rain. And it does make me wonder if he is going to follow a similar strategy in this game number 3 and just hope for the best. or if maybe this is something he counts for. I mean, I don't know. You said he maybe wasn't prepared for a Choice Scarf Salamence, but I feel like Draco Meteor is common enough, right?
Honestly, if like anyone would be that in tune with the metagame and knowing that Choice Scarf Salamence is popping up, it would be Jamie. So if you told me Jamie EV'd his Roaring Moon or trained his Roaring Moon to provide that Draco Meteor, I would definitely believe you.
Well, we have yet another adaptation from Justin Tang in this game number 3, leading that Amoonguss next to the Golden Go. Jamie Boyd leading the Arcanine and Golden Go on his side of the field.
I really like the Golden Go leads from Jamie in all 3 of these games. There are certain board positions, like let's say for example, Justin had led like Iron Hands Amoonguss or something. That is like the freest nasty plot you could ever think of. And it's not as free this time around because you have to worry about the Shadow Ball, but we have seen Shadow Ball not KO Jamie's Golden Go. So we are, basically a nasty plot is on the field here. If Jamie wants to go straight for nasty plot, it would be realistic to kind of get that up.
I was curious about this. I was looking at Justin's lead and I was like, he's gonna terrestrialize one of these, right? But the big question is, which one do you terrestrialize? And Justin making an adaptation in game number 3, going for the water type terrestrialization on that Amoonguss. It means it's going to be resisting the Flare Blitz from the Hisuian Arcanine and also ensuring that it can take this huge amount of damage and giving the Golden Go on Justin's side of the field the perfect opportunity to go for that nasty plot that we've seen it do time and time again. Now the big question here is just how much damage will Life Orb boosted Shadow Ball do?
Much.
It's so much. It will not get the knockout, but I think it will definitely KO the Amoonguss the following turn with a Shadow Ball.
That might even be Flare Blitz range. We saw the Flare Blitz do a pretty good chunk.
I think it's just shy.
I think you're right. I think you're right. It's gonna be really close though. Like the thought is there. If you're Justin, you have to wonder if Flare Blitz knocks out that Amoonguss. We saw it do a big chunk on that first turn. And a really nice defensive terrestrialization from Amoonguss there. It means that your Amoonguss definitely sticks around. You have the option to redirect a Flare Blitz from that Arcanine, and now that your Golden Go is at +2 and outspeeding the Arcanine and Golden Go on Jamie's side, especially considering Arcanine cannot protect itself. It is Choice Band, doesn't have Protect at its disposal. This Golden Go on Justin's side is a huge threat now, especially considering it still has redirection right next to it.
Thunderous Therian taking the field once again for Jamie, and his Golden Go also protecting this turn. This leaves the field open for Justin. We see the Rage Powder coming through from that Amoonguss, which means the Golden Go should have its choice of targets, but it picked the protecting Golden Go on Jamie's side of the field. So that Thunderous finding a way to sneak in onto the field, and unlike previous games, can now hit that Amoonguss for super effective damage.
This is kind of the pitfall of terrestrializing that Amoonguss, and this is what Justin did so well back in game 1, is he didn't tear that Amoonguss. So the Thunderous did not have the option to just wipe it out with a Thunderbolt or a Wild Bolt Storm. But now it is a water type. A Thunderbolt or a Wild Bolt Storm should be able to KO it pretty easily. Consider as long as it hits. We gotta make sure it hits first. But if Thunderous does opt for a Wild Bolt Storm, it gets the damage onto Golden Go, which it really needs, because Golden Go is not a Dragon type, has no option to terrestrialize anymore. And now this Thunderous is very well positioned, because again, that Assault Vest, along with some possible training in the HP and special defense stats, means it is pretty well equipped to deal with this Golden Go to Amoonguss pair.
Yeah, and a great defensive switch on top of all that, sending in the Dark-type Roaring Moon to take a potential Shadow Ball as well from Justin's Golden Go. We do see another switch, though. Justin's Amoonguss will be swapping out for the Iron Hand. So I believe that's all 4 of his Pokemon for this game now revealed. Shadow Ball from that Golden Go does indeed target down the Roaring Moon, but as you can see, it's not very effective, even with the Nasty Plot boost, and Wild Bolt Storm able to hit both its targets and do a decent chunk of damage to that Golden Go.
I think the other issue with the Golden Go not being a Dragon type after that terrestrialization is now that it is weak to that knockoff. So if Roaring Moon has the opportunity to go for knockoff into that Golden Go, it probably gets knocked out. Iron Hands here is kind of the best thing you can have next to this Golden Go if you want to be facing the Roaring Moon. Roaring Moon has a really high special defense stat, which makes it a great thing to combat Golden Goes. Unfortunately, not a great defense stat, so not the best into Iron Hands', especially considering Drain Punch will be healing it right back up. But a nice defensive swap there from both players, really. Roaring Moon eating the Shadow Ball and Iron Hands coming in to help out.
Yeah, we see Roaring Moon go for yet another late game tailwind. So Jamie looking to find that win condition he found in game number 2. Fake out flinching the Thunderous, and Shadow Ball from Golden Go now targeting the Thunderous as well, and able to hold on thanks to that Assault Vest.
Assault Vest coming in really handy here, especially because it can't protect itself. The Assault Vest means that it guarantees stays around this coming turn. The fake out damage helping out a little bit, but more importantly, I think Roaring Moon is still on the field, and Roaring Moon did get the Tailwind up. Jamie really didn't get baited by the possibility of fake out there, because if you fake out the Roaring Moon, that means that you're not faking out the Thunderous, and Thunderous gets a lot of damage off itself. And it's a smart no protect there from that Roaring Moon, especially if the Salamence is in the back with Justin, to make sure you can try and have that speed advantage later on.
Yeah, Arcanine now taking the field. I think going for the Intimidate into that Iron Hands just to make sure that the Roaring Moon is not threatened by any attacks that it can bring. Golden Go going for a Protect this turn just in time too, as the Roaring Moon did try and knock off that Leftovers held item. That probably would have been enough for the knockout there as well. So Iron Hands now free to go for the Drain Punch into the Roaring Moon, but thanks to the Intimidate, Roaring Moon once again able to hold on and stick around for just one more turn.
Jamie, with these defensive swaps and his Pokemon being so well trained, hanging on with such low HP, again puts himself in such a strong spot, because now Iron Hands can't protect the Golden Go from the Arcanine and Roaring Moon at the same time. Golden Go really has to fear this knockoff, and even if you swap out the Golden Go to dodge it, that means you are losing your boost, you're losing an item on something coming in, and you're giving this Arcanine a free shot at something as well.
Yeah, and we saw this Arcanine lock very quickly into a unique combination here.
Here we go.
A lot of times you see these Hisui and Arcanine opt for defensive Terras, but how many times can you say that then they use it for the offense alongside of a Terra Blast? This is going to be a Fairy-type Hisuian Arcanine going for a Fairy-type Terra Blast eventually. First, we do see the knockoff connect with that Amoonguss, but as it is no longer holding an item, it does not do that much damage. But this attack here is certainly going to pick up that KO against the Amoonguss, and also threaten some good damage against the Iron Bundle, or not the Iron Bundle, the Iron Hands, excuse me, as it is a fighting-type Pokemon. And Drain Punch as well, resisted by that Fairy typing. It's a very unique build for this Choice Band Hisuian Arcanine, and I'm so surprised to see it, but at the same time, it's Jamie Boyd. I feel like it's a very him move, and it's working out very well in this critical game 3.
It's another example of really smart targeting too. The Golden Go protecting the prior turn means that a Protect there is really not the best option. And if it stays in, the knockoff either KOs it or puts it in range for the Terra Blast. I think best case, the knockoff just KOs it, then you get the Terra Blast into the Iron Hands. But even if a swap comes out there, let's say the Iron Bundle comes in, the knockoff and Terra Blast does a big chunk of damage and not KOs it outright. Obviously, we saw the Amoonguss meet that fate on this turn, and so this Arcanine, with another turn of Tailwind still left up, I don't believe an Iron Bundle can knock it out on this turn, so a big Terry Terra Blast is a risk that Justin has to worry about into this Iron Hands. And the Roaring Moon still has one more turn to get off something like a knockoff or a Breaking Swipe before Tailwind runs out.
Well, Iron Hands won't be sticking around for this final turn of Tailwind. It's going to be that Golden Go that takes its spot once again. So a lot of Pokemon on the field, but a great swap there from Jamie. Great targeting, I should say. Opting to knock off that Golden Go spot. Would have either removed the Assault Vest or locked in a KO. So a great trade there. Icy Wind missing the Roaring Moon. That would have been such a critical KO. The Arcanine will take a speed drop for its trouble, but it's able to still deal damage, and that's the most important part for Jamie's endgame. This Terra Blast is going to do so much damage to the Iron Bundle. It's a very solid 2-hit knockout. And now that Tailwind is gone, Justin Tang is down to his final 2 Pokemon in this match.
Tailwind is gone, which is a saving grace there. And Roaring Moon, even with the booster energy speed boost, will be slower than the Iron Bundle with its own speed boost. However, you still have to worry about the Roaring Moon now. Like, Jamie still has all 4 of his Pokemon. I think a 4th that hasn't even been revealed. We know the Golden Go, but maybe not the 4th one. Oh no, the Thunderous. But at the same time, like, the Golden Go on Jamie's side actually looks really good right now. Like, there's so many things that Jamie can do now that he still has all 4 of his Pokemon. Maybe make some sort of switches, some smart protects, which will set him up for the end of this game.
Yeah, his first step, though, I think, is getting through this turn of fake-out threat from Justin unharmed, and that's indeed what he's going to do. Protect will stop the fake-out on the Roaring Moon, and the Iron Bundle does land a Hydro Pump into the Thunderous, getting that knockout, but most importantly, the Hisuian Arcanine did not take damage this turn, can come in next turn and intimidate that Iron Hands once again, or you can swap in that Golden Go for that part of your end game. Jamie has several options here on how he wants to close the game out.
That's the nice thing too. Again, the Roaring Moon, like if you target down the Golden Go with your Iron Bundle, which is really your best way of damaging it at this point in the game, that just means you leave the Roaring Moon open and it can get off a big knockoff. Like removing the Assault Vest from Iron Hands means that Golden Go is so much more able to damage it at later stages of this third game. Tailwind means that maybe the Arcanine, I don't know, Iron Bundle is actually really fast, especially with that boost energy, so I don't know if Tailwind is actually that high impact here. But Breaking Swipe and Knockoff are. And again, just like the threat of damage from that slot is now so much higher that Roaring Moon is still on the field. Golden Go in a really strong spot here. I don't think it gets knocked out by this Iron Bundle in any case, and so it's going to be able to get at least one attack off.
Yeah, and it looks like Jamie opted to prioritize removing the Assault Vest from the Iron Hands, so getting one step closer to setting up that Golden Go for its end game. Knockoff doesn't do a lot of damage, even boosted by a critical hit, but the loss of that Assault Vest is absolutely huge. Drain Punch will lock in the KO against that Roaring Moon, but its job is done. It has left the two Pokemon on Justin's side of the field vulnerable to this Golden Go. And if you are Jamie, I think you just have to decide, do you opt for Make It Rain and then use the Arcanine to pick up a little bit more damage to hopefully drive a KO? Or do you try and lock in for a Shadow Ball just for some big damage against that Iron Hands? I think the Iron Bundle honestly might even be within Extreme Speed range.
Right, a choice in Extreme Speed could be the difference maker here with the Arcanine. And also not a bad lock into Iron Hands too, should be able to do a good chunk of damage. And more importantly, the Arcanine having Terastallize means that it is resisting the Drain Punch. So like Drain Punch is kind of just off the table now. You're not going to damage Golden Go at all. It's resistant into Arcanine, which means that you're not going to be healing much, which is kind of key for Jamie in this sense. Because now the Assault Vest is gone, Shadow Ball does so much more damage. Extreme Speed comes out here into the Iron Hands though, directly, not opting for the Iron Bundle.
Hydro Pump from the Iron Bundle connects with the Arcanine, and it is enough to pick up that KO. So that would have been an attack Arcanine otherwise could not have used. So that was great recognition there from Jamie. Make It Rain from Golden Go, though, following up, gets the knockout on the Iron Bundle. It is just Iron Hands versus Golden Go left, and this Iron Hands can only use Wild Charge or Heavy Slam for damage into this Golden Go, and both of those are not going to be very effective. Opts for Wild Charge, which will get the same type attack bonus, but also will deal some damage in recoil, putting it more than within range of the Shadow Ball for the KO. Jamie Boyd wins round 4 of Swiss here in Toronto, 2-1 against Justin Tang.
I'm so happy we got to witness a Jamie Boyd masterclass. That was such good gameplay. Even in game 1 when Jamie lost, and Justin played very, very well that first game. I think, especially that turn where he opted not to Terastallize the Amoonguss, that was really big. Justin kind of in control that whole time. But games 2 and 3, especially in game 2, and Jamie kind of looked down and out. He had some very low health Pokemon remaining into some pretty healthy Pokemon on Justin's side and a pretty even Pokemon count. But thanks to some really, really smart positioning, able to put himself in a spot where Golden Go closed out that second game and did the same exact thing here in game 3. The Arcanine using Extreme Speed at the end there, getting that chip damage onto the Iron Hands, knowing that the Iron Bundle was already in range to Make It Rain, and then just closing out with the Shadow Ball at the very end. The Golden Go on Jamie's side showing off why the Life Orb, in conjunction with Nasty Plot, makes it a threat in pretty much any scenario.
Yeah, and going back to this game number 3, you know, we saw the Thundurus with the Assault Vest able to take that Shadow Ball. That was huge. We saw the Drain Punch fail to knock out the Roaring Moon because of the Intimidate. There was just so much knowledge on Jamie's side of the field, you know, knowing how much health he had, knowing how much damage on average he could deal. I mean, even knowing that his Hisuian Arcanine could Terra Blast to KO the potential Amoonguss swap in there on that turn. Like you said, it really was a masterclass in how to just know your team, how to know your damage calcs, and then use that information to help your board positioning overall. And I'm so excited to see where this team goes in this tournament because we didn't even see the Ogerpon at all from Jamie in these 3 games.
And like in his defense, Ogerpon into Golden Go, Amoonguss, and Iron Bundle, like kind of hard to bring. Like,
100%.
No blame there, but I would love to see Jamie maybe come back and play tomorrow at day 2 or in Top Cut to show off that Ogerpon. But it's just like the Ogerpon being that set, like the Tail Mask, Swords Dance, Razor Claw, and like not even like there are other things on Jamie's team that are like equally as interesting that we got to see him show off in this game. it's just kind of a testament to how good of a team builder Jamie is and how good he is at piloting those creations.
Yeah, and also I think his ability to run very unique teams, like just back to back. I mean, I was thinking about it during his match, and I'm pretty sure in Lille he was running the Alolan Ninetales on his team. And I want to say there was also Teal Mask Ogrepon on it, but honestly, it's been a little bit, and I need to like go back and actually look to see what he did lock into. But just very, very knowledgeable, very, I think, talented with team building, like you're saying, and just able to really capitalize on a lot of very, very close calls throughout that matchup. So congratulations to him. Congrats to Justin Tang as well. I think that was a very difficult matchup at the end of the day. And, you know, he's such a strong player. I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing him again. This is only round 4. This is only the first loss for Justin Tang. You do have to essentially win out throughout the remainder of the day to comfortably make it into day 2. But if anybody can do it, Justin Tang certainly can.
Yeah, I mean, after round 4, only an eighth of the field is at 4-0, and so you can't really, especially if you're 3-1 going into the midpoint of the day, the 5th round of the day, certainly not a bad spot to be in. You put yourself in a position where you're ahead of most of the field, still at 3-1, and you were 3/7 of the way to day 2 already. So
yeah, we're doing some quick maths here. I appreciate it.
The quickest of maths.
The extreme speed of maths, if you will.
Exactly.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm excited to see from Justin as well is just how the Choice Scarf Salamence is going to play out throughout the remainder of the tournament. You know, like we were talking about earlier, he's not the only one to be running that Pokemon here today. And it certainly is, especially to see it juxtaposed against the Roaring Moon in a matchup as well.
Oh, true. We got them both.
Yeah, like it was a really cool thing to see. Okay, this is what the Salamence wants to do. This is what the Roaring Moon wants to do. And I do strongly agree with Evan's caster prediction that Salamence does have a very unique opportunity to do well this weekend. And maybe this matchup wasn't it, but I'm pretty sure it will find some great targets, especially for Air Slash. I mean, talk about a great flying type damage dealing move that also has a decent chance to flinch.
Well, Jamie won the battle of the past versus present Salamences. We are ready to hear from him with Evan over in the lounge.
Thanks, Gabby. Thanks, Jake. I am joined in the lounge by a familiar face for those of you who have been watching our broadcast. Putting the rest of us casters to shame, Jamie Boyd has traveled across the Atlantic just to take round 4 here in Toronto. Jamie, congratulations on that win.
Yeah, thank you very much. I do want to do a lot more casting, as we've seen hopefully in the European region, but being able to still go up against the best and still come out on top is a very, very good feeling.
Yeah, and absolutely one of the best that North America has to offer. Justin Tang, who was, if not the Rookie of the Year for North America last year, definitely in conversation for
Absolutely.
it. What was it like drawing his name on your match slip and realizing, oh, this is who I have to play round 4?
Excellent, because I wanted to get on the North American stream. So as soon as I saw that name, I was like, this is the chance. And yes, it was. And it was a fantastic game as well.
Yeah.
I would have enjoyed watching that as a spectator. I'd have enjoyed casting over that as well, and the fact that I got to play it was the cherry on top.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about the games themselves, but I also want to take just a moment to talk about your team. You know, Jamie, you are someone that we know and love for building teams that work for you and you alone.
That is a great way of describing it, Evan. Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about this team. You have some rogue elements here. Of course, you have the Teal Mask Ogrepon form, and also what I loved seeing in that game, the Assault Vest Thunderous Therian form, and the Terra Blast Choice Band Hisuian Arcanine, which is not something that we've seen a whole lot. Most people just opting for the head smash, one-hit KO button if you need it. But talk to me a little bit about how you constructed this team and how it works for you.
Yeah, the main starting point was definitely the Roaring Moon. Back in Regulation D, my most successful team that I would have walked to the World Championships if I'd have been able to qualify had a support Roaring Moon with Breaking Swipe. Acrobatics at that point because it didn't have access to knockoff, but then as soon as one of my friends, Taran, pointed out that now it gets knockoff, I don't need to Terra to actually do damage with it and get you great utility.
Yeah, and knockoff
was a no-brainer.
It's one of the best moves in the game.
Fantastic, and that just made the Roaring Moon just even better than it felt back in Regulation D, because it felt very strong with the Breaking Swipe. Now it was like pure support, still can do great damage, but really, really, really strong. And I just prefer it to Tornadus, basically.
Yeah.
I see it as a better Tornadus. You win the mirror against Tornadus because they can't taunt you, you're a dark type. You outspeed them after you've matched Tailwind because of the booster energy. So the Roaring Moon was definitely the starting point, and then I just put a load of Pokemon that can hit very hard, let's say, around
Absolutely.
it. The Thunderous Therian, I wanted a strong special attacker that was off the ground. Thunderous Therian is the strongest special attacker that is off the ground. It was as simple as that. But then the Assault Vest has come in absolutely clutch already. You've seen on the stream already. In my round 2, we was able to survive a Choice Banded Rock Slide from an Arcanine, which was amazing, and just clutched the game. And then the regular Ogerpon was the last thing that I had going into this. It was like a brainwave moment that I had on the way back from Niagara Falls yesterday, and it was like, because I did originally have the Wellspring Ogerpon, and then we were just talking about the Ogerpon in the car, and then one of them just mentioned the Teal Mask one, and then it just light bulb. Oh, Defiance. That's what I've been looking for. I've been trying to stick King Gambit on, and I can't. But here's Defiant, and his speed boost as well, and it's been fantastic. It absolutely steamrolled round 2 and round 3 for me. It was brilliant in those ones.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting choice to use the Teal Mask Ogerpon because it's the only form of Ogerpon that actually gets to hold an item.
Yeah.
So you have the Razor Claw, I believe it is, to boost